Good morning, Raptor freaks. Let's see odds here. It is Sunday, and I'm doing a Sunday special report on the NBA schedule that just came out 3 days ago. The NBA releasing the entire NBA schedule for everybody on Thursday. And well, in some ways, I've gone over it and looked at it very closely, and it's time for me to kind of analyze it as a Sunday report and talk about what I see, the different interesting times where the schedule maneuvers through and where we're going and when and where, and some observations I have about the schedule that are maybe most people won't see. But yeah, let's go ahead and do it. You're watching the Raptor Freak stream. We've also got a reaction to some basketball games yesterday, CBL playoffs, and Austria against Bulgaria, in which the Austrian team lost to Bulgaria yesterday, but they still qualified to go to the next round, which is great for Jakob Pertl and the national Austrian team. So yeah, that's all on the table to talk about, plus more about Scotty Barnes on Twitch the other night and other Raptors related stuff, the Instagram stories, all that stuff. You know what we do here. That's right. Fiercey's here. Good morning, fam, and happy Sunday. Congrats to the Shooting Stars. Y'all kicked our butts. Yeah, the game wasn't close by the end. The other game, the Western game, was close, and Calgary just barely edged the Vancouver Bandits to get to the next round to play the Winnipeg Sea Bears next week in Winnipeg. And yeah, that game was a lot closer. In fact, Calgary was down by 1 with the Elam ending starting, and they came back and won behind Evan Gilliard II. Once again, Evan Gilliard has been huge, and so has Jameer Nelson Jr. for the Calgary Surge. Yeah, Ottawa, the thing about what happened there, Fiercey, was you guys have had some really good players on your team this season, but they've been too good. And they've been going to other places like Isaiah Moore, Javonte Smart, gone right when they needed them the most, right at the end of the season. And the lack of that firepower and good players, it hurt Ottawa Blackjacks. They just didn't have as much to keep up with the Stars. And the Stars have been surging. They've been playing very, very well more and more through the season. And as the announcer said, Rob Black, at the end of the game, the Shooting Stars have been building momentum in these playoffs and getting better, like against Montreal and now Ottawa in the last couple of days. So yeah, Scarborough's going to Winnipeg, and they will be playing the Niagara River Lions in the championship week in their Eastern Conference Finals. So yeah, good job congratulations to Ottawa Blackjacks. It's a tough season, good season, but it ended yesterday. And Scarborough's on a mission. I'll say that. All right, let's get back to the schedule, guys. I want to talk about the schedule today. Now, the schedule, we got 15 back-to-backs in the schedule this year. And the back-to-backs aren't that bad. Most of them make a lot of sense. There's one back-to-back it's the normal West Coast back-to-back that's always kind of a pain in the ass. And it's in March. It'll be on March 22nd. We'll be in Phoenix. And then the next day, we got to fly from Phoenix to Utah to play the Jazz. Now, that may be the worst back-to-back that we have this season as far as travel and distance. In some ways, that is a pretty far distance, but in some ways it isn't also. Phoenix to Salt Lake City, And, also it helps that both teams are kind of shaky teams this year. Phoenix is very shaky, let's just put it that way, with their new roster without Kevin on it. And Utah is definitely in a rebuild and one of the worst teams in the league. So that's why I'm like, this is not a bad back-to-back, because we got to remember Phoenix Suns have been a failure the last few years. And, Utah is definitely a young team that's rebuilding and doesn't really have everything organized exactly. So I don't mind that. All right, let's start from the beginning. This will be the first year in a long time that the Toronto Raptors will start the regular season on the road. We've been granted home openers for a long time lately. And I think the last time we had a road opener, DeMar DeRozan and Andrea Bargnani were on our team, guys. That's how long ago it was. That's over 15 years ago or something like that. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, we'll start the season on the road in Atlanta, guys. We're going to be in Atlanta playing the Hawks on October 22nd. It's a Wednesday. And yeah, that's when we'll get the first official action. Of course, we have a nice 6-game preseason, I believe 5 or 6 games in the preseason. So we'll have that October preseason action against teams like Brooklyn, twice against Boston, Denver, Sacramento, Washington. I believe those are the teams we're playing in the preseason. And then Atlanta Hawks, first game of the season on a Wednesday night in Atlanta. And I would say that this is good because Atlanta is kind of being forecasted as maybe a Eastern team that's rising in the standings. But if they got a whole bunch of new faces and we coming in to see them in the game of the season, they may not have their shit organized. They may not have it all together. And we may be able to go in there and mess them up. So this is a good first game of the season. Last year, we had to play our first game at home against Cleveland. And Cleveland was very good. And Cleveland kicked our ass right away from the start. So, yeah, I think we have a better chance on the road to beat Atlanta this year than we did against Cleveland last year, because in some ways, Cleveland was just a juggernaut for the regular season last year, and we didn't know it at that time. So our home opener will be the next game. It'll be on a Friday, October the 24th. Milwaukee Bucks coming to Toronto. And normally people would say, oh, my gosh, that's a tough game. First home game against the Bucks. No, listen to me. The Bucks are imposters this year. The Bucks are going to be a horrible team this year. You take Giannis out of that team, if he's hurt at any time, that team is the Washington Wizards. It basically is, because Kyle Kuzma's there now. And I'm just saying, you cannot trust a team that after Giannis Antetokounmpo, it's going to be Kyle Kuzma, Gary Trent Jr., and Kevin Porter Jr. carrying that team after that. No, you cannot. You cannot. And especially since Brook Lopez is gone, that Milwaukee Bucks are in for a huge crash this year, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, this year might be so bad for Milwaukee that Giannis will be demanding a trade out of there by the end of the year. Seriously. They don't have Dame anymore, and they don't have Drew. They don't have Brooke. They don't have Pat Connaughton even anymore. And only guy who's left really with Giannis from the old guard is Bobby Portis. So, yeah, this team's going to be horrible, guys. I'm telling you right now, Milwaukee fans, you're delusional. If you think you have a good team this year, you're going to have a bad year. Your front office has been horrible the last few years with their decisions, and you've gotten to this point. So I think we'll kick their ass in the first game at Scotiabank Arena this season. Then we immediately go on a Texas two-step. It's kind of a mirroring of last season. At the end of the season last year, we played our games in Dallas and San Antonio right at the end of the season. In fact, were the last two games of the season. We played in Dallas, and then we played in San Antonio. The last two games, Texas two-step. Well, they're putting the Texas two-step at the beginning of the season this year, where we go to Dallas and meet Cooper Flagg, the number one pick, right away at the beginning of the year in the third game. And then we go see Wemby the game after that in San Antonio. And that's a back-to-back, a Sunday to a Monday travel. But it's Texas, and it's San Antonio to Dallas. That's not a huge trip for making a jump for one day. And in some ways, it may be tough to play San Antonio on the second day of that back-to-back, but we're getting our visit to Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks and out of the way very early in the season. Very, very early in the season. Now, this may be a tough little two-step road trip. We'll have to see. It'll be a good test for the Raptors very early in the season. Then they come back, they play Houston at home, which is no big deal, and then they get back on the road and they go to Cleveland. This will be our first in-season tournament game. It's on Halloween, and Cleveland Cavaliers at Cleveland. First in-season tournament game. This will be our toughest in-season tournament game, I'm going to guess right now already. And, Cleveland at home on Halloween. In-season tournament action. That'll be fun. It will be the sixth game of our season already. So we're going to get in the in-season tournament very quickly. Very, very quickly, right away. In fact, that's the thing I noticed. The in-season tournament was really over a month before, but now they stretch it out to 2 months. This in-season tournament goes over 2 months now, so they're more spread out. And in some ways, the Raptors have two of their in-season tournament games at the beginning of the in-season tournament window, and then two near the end. And in the middle, there's a huge amount of weeks where we won't do any in-season tournament action, but most of the other teams in the league will be. So we're going to get two in-season tournament games out of the way quick in the first 2 weeks, and then we'll have our last two games near the end of the in-season tournament play. Now, playing the first game of the season against Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta is good because the Friday after Halloween, we go to Atlanta and play them in the in-season tournament on their home court. So we need to pay attention to the first game of the season in Atlanta because it's going to be the matchup that we're going to do again in about 2 weeks after that. But this time it'll be in-season tournament in their own arena also. So both the Atlanta games where the Raptors go to Atlanta are going to be out of the way in the first 3 weeks of the season. So I tell my father and my brother and my nephew, if you want to go see the Raptors this year, you guys need to go at the very beginning of the season this year, because the Raptors will make their 2 appearances in Atlanta, and by the time it's November the 7th is the last appearance. So yeah, the interesting thing after that is that we've got a game against Philadelphia as a back-to-back after going to Atlanta. Now that's not a huge trip either. Atlanta to Philly is not a bad trip, but it's a sneaky thing that the NBA has been doing to the Raptors the last few years. Is that one of the things they do with our back-to-backs is quite often they give us the second night of the back-to-back against an important Eastern Conference opponent. Like last year, almost all the games we played against Boston were on the second day of a back-to-back or something weird like that. This often happens to us against important Eastern Conference teams where they may want us to lose to them. And I think this is what this is right here. They put us in a Friday night in-season tournament game in Atlanta against the Hawks, and then we have to turn around and go to Philadelphia the next night to play Nick Nurse and the Sixers for the first time for the season. Yeah, that's shady as hell. But I'll take the challenge, especially since the Sixers, well, we know where they were last year, and we don't know where they're going to be this year. And if they're not healthy and they're all in disarray, well, let's go ahead and play them at the beginning of the season when they're all messed up before maybe Joel Embiid is healthy or Paul George is playing or something like that. You know, we play a lot of these games against some of these Eastern Conference opponents early. Like we get games against Milwaukee, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and Brooklyn out of the way very early. Indiana also. It's like we're going to get 2 games against all those Eastern Conference teams before the end of November. And that means half of our season series against important Eastern Conference teams will be determined early in the season. So the Raptors need to get out the gate early in this season and kick some ass, because those games against Eastern Conference teams in the first 2 months of the season, Scotty Barnes, are going to be very important for playoff connotations later in the season. So don't mess with your food. Don't mess up in the beginning by losing a bunch of games. Get off to a good start so you can have good records against Eastern Conference opponents that are going to be important in the structuring of how the playoffs lay out in the play-in. So I'd say this, don't mess with your food. Beat these Eastern teams in these important Eastern games early in the season. Now, we go on a very strange 5-game road trip in November, but it's all Eastern dates. It's very interesting. We have 3 5-game road trips this season, and 2 of them are out west, and one's in January and one's in March. And then we have one in November that's all Eastern Conference trip, but they'll only be gone for like a week. And that includes this in-season tournament game. Atlanta will be the first game of this trip, and then Philly, and then they got to go to Brooklyn, and then Cleveland, and then Indiana. So there's 5 Eastern Conference games on the road, all in a row, at the beginning of the season in November. It's very, very interesting stuff. And then we come back and play Philly again in Philly right away. So it's like we're getting a lot of all our Philadelphia games out of the way on the road, all of our Atlanta games on the road, all of our Cleveland games on the road out of the way in the first month of the season. So that's something to look for. Now, it's very heavy with road games in the first month of the season, but there's parts of our season that are very heavy with home games. Oh, also, of course. You know, home games also. So, yeah, that's a weird back-to-back. Later on, after that road trip in November, we have another back-to-back on a Sunday to Monday, but it's a home-and-home back-to-back. And it'll be the Brooklyn Nets coming in on Sunday, November the 23rd, against us in Scotiabank Arena. And then we got to stay in Toronto, and the Cleveland Cavaliers will play us on a Monday the next day. Now, that Monday game against the Cavs here in Toronto will be on Peacock, and it'll be the first game the Raptors get shown on the new NBC TV deal. So that'll be interesting to see the Raptors shown on NBC for the first time in like 25 years. So, yeah, we get all these Cleveland games out of the way. That game, we'll have played the Cavaliers 3 of our 4 games for the year, and that is very early in the season. So hopefully the Cavs will have some problems at the beginning of the year, maybe not as strong as they go into the season further, and we can surprise them. And if we've beaten the Cavs 2 out of the 3 games, by that point, by the Peacock game, that'll be a good litmus test to see where we are with the season, guys. I think we should get at least one against them. But if we can win 2 out of 3 against the Cavs at that point, that's going to be a really big deal because 2 of them will be in Cleveland and 1 of them will be in Toronto. Yeah, Thanksgiving game will be the day before Thanksgiving. It'll be in Toronto against the Indiana Pacers and Siakam. So, yeah, that's great. Then another road trip starts on the weekend. And we're going to go to Charlotte on Saturday, November the 29th, and play the Hornets. But then, this is the fishy thing, and this is where it's really shady for this season. We go to New York to play the Knicks on the Sunday, the second night of a back-to-back. Now, what was I just talking about? They seem to be shady with the back-to-backs where they give us tough Eastern Conference opponents on the second night of the back-to-back. So we're going to go play LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte on a Saturday, and then we got to turn around and come to New York and play in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. This is the thing. Every single Knicks game this season is fishy as fuck. I'm going to say this right now. You would know these people have a lawsuit against Toronto Raptors, and hopefully it got cleared up. I haven't heard anything. Did you adjudicate that, Adam Silver, and it just went away? I don't know. What happened to the Raptors lawsuit? That thing that happened, I don't know. Either way, all of the Knicks games are fishy this year. Almost, I think 2 or 3 of them, 2 of them are on the second night of a back-to-back. And then the third game that we're playing the Knicks is the first game back after a long West Coast road trip at Scotiabank Arena. And we all know the phenomena of long road trips coming back to home and then kind of having a weird game when you first get back. Yeah. So 3 out of the 4 New York Knicks games this year are fishy. 2 of them are the second night of a back-to-back and one of them's after travel from Toronto to New York. And then one of them is at home for the Raptors, but after they came back from a week-long West Coast road trip. That's fishy. So they are the one team that they game the schedule for to help against us is the Knicks this year. Is the one team. They really did. Usually there's a little bit of like helping the Sixers, the Knicks, and the Celtics against us with the scheduling, but it's heavily helping the Knicks against us, putting us on the second night of back-to-back and 2 of the matchups, and then the first game after a long road trip back at Scotiabank Arena. Yeah, those are fishy. Those are fishy right there. New York getting a little bit of special treatment. The Nets got a little bit of special treatment also in that kind of way against us, but it shouldn't matter. They suck. So it shouldn't matter with them. December starts with a homestand where we're going to play Portland Trailblazers, LA Lakers, and Charlotte Hornets back-to-back. So Bronny and Braun will show up on Thursday, December the 4th, to play their game in Toronto against the Raptors. And then the next night, the Hornets will come in and play in Toronto against the Raptors also. So a back-to-back at home with the Lakers and the Hornets. That's not anything bad at all. The second night is against the lower team. We got the tougher team the night before, and there's no travel because we're staying in Toronto. There's quite a few back-to-backs that are home and home, and that's fantastic. That's what I'm saying. This schedule is very nice to us, guys. There's a lot of good pacing. Like there's a lot of good day on, day off stuff. And some of the big, huge gaps that were part of last year, which really annoyed me, where we'd have like 3 or 4 days off in between games. And I'm like, why don't y'all just spread it out better? NBA schedule makers. Why do we have to have 4 days off right now? We could have put a game right in the middle of this from another place where you jammed a whole bunch of games together. No, there's a lot more smoothing out and evening out of the schedule as far as days on, days off that make more sense. There's a lot more 1 day on, 1 day off kind of stuff this year. And I like that a lot. So we won't play the Boston Celtics until December the 7th. And it'll be at home, and it'll be right before the in-season tournament cup play where they go to Vegas and they do the NBA Cup stuff. Now, this is the thing. I think the Raptors, each year in the in-season tournament, we won 1 game in the first year. We won 2 games in the second year. Well, this is the third year. Let's go for 3 out of the 4 games won for the Raptors. I feel like if they can win the game against Cleveland, that's a great start. And, Atlanta in Atlanta, and then boom, they got to play Washington Wizards at home, and then Indiana Pacers at home. And this is all before Thanksgiving. And those 2 at home against the Pacers and the Wizards are very winnable. So if we can win those 2 home games in in-season tournament and win one of the other 2 between Atlanta and Cleveland, I say we have a good chance of possibly making an appearance at Vegas for this Cup playoff just because a 3-1 team can get there. Now, 4-0 is more likely to get there, but there are wild card spots, and there will be some 3-1 teams that get there. So there is a chance. I'm saying that, Seymour Pape. There is a chance the Raptors could get the in-season tournament play in Vegas, past the in-season tournament games, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see if that happens. Of course, there is that long break in December for the in-season tournament, and there will be 2 mystery games for the Raptors added in from that, and hopefully there'll be ones that matter, and they're playing for the in-season tournament in somewhere in Vegas. That'd be awesome. We'll have to see. When they get back from the in-season tournament, they go to Milwaukee and play the Bucks again. Once again, getting more of these Eastern Conference important opponents games out of the way. Out of the way. That'll mean most of them, half the Milwaukee games are played by then. Then around Christmas, the Raptors will be on the road, guys. We're going to play in Brooklyn on the 21st of December, then Miami on the 23rd. And, well, we'll be in Miami the day before Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, well, Scotty will be right close to Palm Beach and be able to, like, just go straight there, drive there from the game afterwards. So it's kind of a good schedule for the holidays for the guys. Of course, we didn't expect to get a Christmas day game. We don't want one. We don't care. In some ways, it's a hassle. In some ways, it takes the players away from their families on a nice day. So in some ways, let's enjoy the perks. And a lot of bullshit about playing on Christmas in the NBA is overblown anyway, guys. It's so overblown. So, yeah, the Raptors will have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off, but they will play their traditional Boxing Day game. And that Boxing Day game will be in Washington, D.C. this year against the Wizards on the road. So that's a very winnable Boxing Day game, too. So, yeah, it's good stuff. And then the end of December, the end of 2025, Golden State Warriors, Orlando, and Denver will all come to Toronto and play home games, games against us at home. Now, there's the Warriors, Orlando back-to-back there, where it's a Sunday, Monday back-to-back. Warriors on Sunday at Scotiabank Arena, and then Magic at Scotiabank Arena on the Monday the next day. And that's, once again, another one of those back-to-backs where they put an important Eastern Conference opponent against us on the second night of the back-to-back. They've done that. This is a pattern. They do this. All right. January is interesting. There's a lot of games on the road. We're going to be road warriors in January. Of course, January is always a nice month for the Raptors because usually it's a turn the calendar page and the Raptors get a new, fresh invigoration of energy, and they try and come, and they've had really good Januaries the last couple of years. So hopefully this will be true again for this January 2026, because they start the new year out this way. They have a New Year's Eve game, guys, where they're going to play Denver Nuggets in Toronto on New Year's Eve. So that'll be fun, but they're not playing on New Year's Day, thank God. No back-to-back over New Year's Eve to New Year's Day like last year, which was absolutely insane. That was a messed up schedule. I'm just going to say that, NBA, that y'all made the Raptors play in Boston on New Year's Eve and then come home and play the Nets on New Year's Day. Yeah, that was messed up. So, yeah, they're only going to play on New Year's Eve against the Nuggets and Jokic. That's when they'll be in town to play against us. And then we get a couple of days off, and then we get a 2-game series against Atlanta in Toronto, where we're going to play the same team, both games in Toronto, but one day in between. So Atlanta plays us on the 3rd of January and then the 5th of January. And that could have been a back-to-back, honestly. That's where you could put them together. But no, the Hawks will get a day off in Toronto and to hang out and see the city and do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I love these 2-game series. Then we have a few of these in the second half of the season. We're going to play the same team 2 games in a row at the same place. And the Atlanta one's at the beginning of January, and it's the first one. Then we go on the road. We play Charlotte and Boston. And then there's a Philly back-to-back, which is both games are in Toronto. So Nick Nurse has one trip to Canada this year. He's coming to Toronto on Saturday, January the 10th, and they'll play the Raptors on the Sunday and the Monday, 2 days in a row. Both games against the Sixers in Scotiabank Arena right in a row. Joel Embiid and all them. Yeah, they're only coming up here for one trip, and they're going to play 2 days in a row. No day in between. They're going to play on a Sunday and a Monday right in a row. That's not a bad back-to-back once again, because we ain't traveling nowhere, and we're playing the same opponent both games. So hopefully we can catch the Sixers tanking their ass off once again this year, and we can kick their ass and sweep them once again this year like we did last year. That'd be awesome. Kawhi and the Clippers come to Toronto on January the 16th. It's a Friday. So mark your calendars if you're a Kawhi fan, you want that. The Raptors go on their first West Coast road trip in the middle of January. They'll go to LA first. They fly straight to LA and play the Lakers on the 18th of January. It's a Sunday. And then they got to do a back-to-back on this trip between Golden State and Sacramento, which is a California back-to-back. They'll play the Warriors on a Tuesday night and then go to play Sacramento on Wednesday night. That's not a bad back-to-back. Once again, it's similar to Utah and Phoenix back-to-back, but it's not unreasonable travel. And in some ways, them having to play one night in Golden State and then going to play Sacramento. Sacramento's the lesser team. So it should be an easier back-to-back. Then they go to Portland, and then they go to Oklahoma City, the champs, on the 25th of January. That's the 5-game road trip out west, the first one. Lakers, Warriors, Kings, Trailblazers, and then Thunder. And then they come back and play the Knicks at home. And that's what I'm saying. That's fishy as fuck. The Knicks are on the second night of back-to-back or at the end of a long road trip. That's fishy. That's fishy. And February is amazing, guys. The All-Star month is going to be one of the best months for the Raptors this season because almost all their games are at home. They've got 9 games in February, and 6 of them are at home. Only 3 games on the road. And they'll be playing Utah on the 1st of February. There's a back-to-back between Minnesota Timberwolves on a Wednesday night, and then Chicago comes in on a Thursday night. And the Chicago game will be on Amazon Prime on national television in that one. So, yeah, there's another home and home back-to-back. So you're seeing a pattern. Like 4 of our back-to-backs are where we play both games at home. And it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. Indiana and Detroit will also come through before the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, we go on a little mini Great Lakes trip to Chicago and Milwaukee. And then the Spurs and the Thunder come to Toronto. And the Thunder will play the first night, and then Wemby and the Spurs the next night. Another back-to-back at home. Show up at the arena on Tuesday night, it's the Thunder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Show up at the arena on Wednesday night, it's Wemby and company with the Spurs. So yeah, these are tough back-to-backs, but there's no travel involved, and they're home games. So hey, the end of the month we'll go to Washington and play our last game against them for the season. See, that's the other thing that's really important about this schedule is there's a lot of good balance between the good and bad teams we have to play. Instead of throwing all the bad teams at the end of the season like they did last year and giving us all the tough teams at the beginning of the year, it's very evenly distributed this year. And that's why this schedule is so much better. Because last year was really bad, guys. They really threw us to the fire. They made us play the toughest teams in the league for the first 2 months. We had all of our tough games before Christmas. And then at the end of the season, all of our easiest games were in the last month of the year. To be able to really gauge the team, we couldn't do that last year, along with the injuries. So in some ways this year, because we've got a mix of top playoff teams and low bad teams mixed together, this will make it a lot easier for us to gauge the true identity of our team and how good they are when they go through a difference in opponents, like where we're going to go, all right, we got the Wizards on this night, and then boom, we got to play the Thunder the next night. That'll be a better gauge because last year our schedule was totally lopsided. Totally lopsided. This year it's a lot more evenly distributed with Charlotte and Washington and Brooklyn games distributed all over the schedule instead of all just put right at the end of this year. They were all right at the end of the year. All of our Washington, Charlotte, and Brooklyn games were all in the last 2 months of the season last year. And that was bad, man. That was not good for us. March will be another road month for the Raptors. They will be on the road a lot. That would be the second West Coast road trip. And that one, yeah. They play the Knicks again at the beginning of March in Toronto. And that will be the 4th game. That's the only normal game against the Knicks where there's no interference. There's 2 days off before, and there's no real weirdness about it. There's no back-to-backs. So that's the one game against the Knicks that's not really kind of a schedule favoring for them. Then they're going to play the Minnesota Timberwolves on March the 5th in Minnesota. Dallas will come to Toronto on Sunday the 8th. If you want to see Cooper Flag in Toronto, that's your date. Then we go on the road, and we have a back-to-back on the road down in Houston. We'll play Fred and Kevin Durant in Houston on March the 10th. And then the next day, we got to go to New Orleans and play the Pelicans. Now, that's a back-to-back on the road. Now, you go down I-10. You just get on I-10 from Houston. You go east, and you get to New Orleans, and it only takes about 4 hours. It's not that far. Driving. I'm saying driving, it only takes 4 hours. If you're going to fly, It's like a half-hour flight, if that. So this back-to-back trip is not that bad. Houston into New Orleans Pelicans. And once again, the team that's kind of struggling and having a hard time is the second night of the back-to-back. The Pelicans on the second night. Now, if it's reversed and we're playing the Pelicans first, and then we got to go play Fred and Sengun and Kevin Durant, that may be tougher. But the order is the right way. The order is the right way on that one. Then we come back home. We play the Suns and the Pistons. And then we go on our last big road trip of the season. And this one takes us out west through Chicago. We go play the Bulls on the way out. And then we go to Denver and play them. And then the back-to-back is the Phoenix, Utah back-to-back I talked about earlier. And then the Clippers finish that trip. And we fly back and we play the Pelicans back at home on the 27th of March. So I like these road trips being 5-game road trips instead of 6 or 7-game road trips. And I also like them being only a week long. One of the things about the West Coast road trips is sometimes they can be 10 to 2 weeks long, 10 days to 2 weeks long. And that is just really grinding and really wear you down. So a 5-game road trip that's over 7 days is way better than a 6 or 7-game road trip that's over 10 or 14 days. So the having them split up the road trips the way they did this season is very, very, very helpful. I'm going to say that right now because you're not away for longer than a week in a lot of these cases. So that's fantastic. That's really, really good. Yeah, April is pretty run of the mill. There's a couple of notes about April for me. We've got a 2-game set against Miami in April, a home and home, where the Heat will come up and play us on the 7th of April, my brother's birthday, and also on the 9th of April. And they won't travel. It's similar to the Atlanta home game series that we had with them earlier in the season. And then on the day after the Miami Heat game, the second Miami Heat game, we fly to New York to play the Knicks on the second night of a back-to-back. And this is one of those dreaded things. Like a back-to-back from Toronto to New York City is horrible because this means a midnight flight, and flying into New York on a back-to-back, you don't get in until 4 a.m. And this will be a game where the Raptors are absolutely tired because of customs and being up till 3 or 4 in the morning. And that is definitely beneficial to the Knicks at home in Madison Square Garden at that point in the season. So, yeah, the Knicks' second to last game, well, they're helping them by giving them the second night of a back-to-back where we have to travel customs and get across the border. And, yeah, it's all that kind of bullshit. The last game of the season is against the Brooklyn Nets in Toronto on April the 12th. It's a Sunday. And that's the schedule, guys. You know, a lot of games that are mostly going to be at 7 o'clock, but there are, some afternoon games on Sundays and stuff like that. The TV rights have been divvied up, and it's really confusing. It's like all these different channels between Amazon and Peacock and ESPN. They're having multiple nights, and they're sharing certain nights too. It seems very confusing, but we'll see how it all works out in the end with the broadcasting and the new broadcasters and stuff like that. So if there's any more you guys want to ask or add about the schedule and talking about the schedule like I have for the last half hour, please just go ahead and write in the comments. We'll talk about the schedule. If you have any questions, anything about what I think I just said as far as about the schedule. The really shady thing is the Knicks. The Knicks games are absolutely shady this year, and the little bit of shadiness around the Nets games. But like I said, the Nets games don't matter. I do really like the home and home matchups, especially the ones with Atlanta, Philly, and Miami. Yeah, and they're here in Toronto, which is fantastic too. All right, let's see what you guys are saying also. Kaz is here. Good morning, MJ, Lex, and Rap Freak crew. Good morning to you, Kaz. I should check in my WNBA stuff. Yeah, it's the last day of the regular season for our WNBA Fantasy League. And yeah, the matchups are pretty set right now. Cool Cat has got a very good lead over Kareem at this point, so she's probably going to win her matchup. JP is going to beat Edmond. And this is the closest matchup. James, you have a chance still to beat Logical Raptors Fanatic. It's just you got to rise up on the last day and do it. But the other matches are all pretty set. Kaz is beaten Fiercey for sure. And I'm going to get beat by MK. He's got a 100-point lead on me now at this point. The referees for today's games, LA at Washington, Amy Bonner, Michael Price, Claire Aubrey. Indiana at Connecticut, Roy Gibbien, Madge Forsberg, Ryan Sassano. Dallas at Las Vegas, Isaac Barnett, Randy Richardson, Fatu Sissoko Stevens, and Phoenix at Seattle, Eric Bruton, Agana Bazi, Jeffrey Smith, and finally Atlanta Dream at Golden State Valkyries, Tim Green, Jeff Wooten, and Bidiam Maru. Yeah, get your lineup set for the last day. And tomorrow, playoffs will start. And we have our speculative playoff matchups for our playoffs. Let me go look at it as it stands right now. I don't know. This could change for tomorrow. The matchups right now for tomorrow are JP will play Kaz in the first round, as Kaz is the number 1 seed, and that's likely to stay that way. And it looks like I will play Cool Cat as it stands right now, but I don't know. That could switch. Meredith is playing Fiercey, which is the tough matchup, that 4-5 matchup. And Kareem will play Logical Raptors Fanatic in the first round as it stands right now. We'll see. This could shuffle up a little bit and then in the last day and seeing the results of who wins this week. So we'll have to see. James is saying, do you think Scotty is Kawhi 2.0? Good morning, James. I've called him this. I've called him Claw 2. Yeah, I've called him Claw 2. And it wasn't just a reference to an alien character in some sort of show. No. Claw 2, meaning Claw number 2, because he has the same hands as Kawhi. There's a lot of similarities between Scotty and Kawhi. Well, I said that around his rookie year. People laughed at me. But honestly, I see it more and more. And the stuff about it that is similar is not just the huge giant hands and the stocks and steals and blocks. It's also the way he works in the post with his turnaround shot and the way he's like making his mid-range get better and better. So yeah, I'm okay with this comparison. I think you being like Kawhi is not a bad thing. And I think Scotty is more like Kawhi than most players in this league. So yeah, I think Colin Murray Boyle's got a little bit of Kawhi Leonard in him too. So we'll just have to see as it goes on. Scotty is his own person, but there's definitely Kawhi attributes to him. I thought that the Scotty's a mashup of 3 players. I've said this historically. I told him myself personally. I told him on Switch one day. I said, Scotty, you're like Irvin Magic Johnson, Kawhi Leonard, and Tim Duncan all rolled into one. And some people will hear that list and they laugh at me for it. No. The skills that are there are there. The passing and vision and creativity of Irvin Johnson, the very good big hands and steals and blocks and mid-range shots of Kawhi Leonard, and then a sensibility of team duty to be a team defender like Tim Duncan, roving around out there getting shot blocks and helping on defense in the ways that are optimal for his team to win. Those are the 3 attributes I see in Scotty, and why I compare him to those 3. To those 3 right there. Yeah. Kaz is saying, so disappointing that Isaiah Moore didn't play. Yeah, I don't know what happened with Isaiah. Maybe he got picked up by somebody else and he was gone. And well, the Blackjacks missed him. It really was in the second half. The Ottawa just totally lost their gas. They kept up really well in the first half. In fact, they ran out to a 9-0 lead at the very beginning of the game. Scarborough having a really hard time getting into it. The Gatineau crowd was firmly on Ottawa's side, but it was just they were tired. They only had 9 players, both teams, for the game. They only had 9 players, this 5 stars and 4 reserves. And the one player for Ottawa that they were expecting to step up was Justin Jackson. Justin Jackson is kind of a borderline NBA player. And, well, he was hurt. And he did not play. And so they were down to 8 players all of a sudden, Ottawa. So they only had 8 bodies to play. And that fatigue really did become a factor. And plus, you took away some of their premium players like Moore and Smart. They were in trouble. And in the second half, they got beat up and bullied by the size of the Scarborough Shooting Stars. They out-rebounded the hell out of them. Khalil Miller broke a record. He got like 18 rebounds by himself. He was like 17 and 18 for the game, double-double. And they just dominated them down low. The Scarborough Shooting Stars are a very big team, and they have some big players that play very big in Donovan Williams, Khalil Miller, and Foster Jr. These guys are very big, wide-shouldered guys that dominate the boards, and that was a big part of it. There were some guys on the Blackjacks that were valiantly fighting, but they just didn't have the firepower. And then Terkavian Smith, he's just going to go off and do what he does and just bomb a long 3 that's almost half court. And it just deflates the other team. That they were really tired. I mean, in some ways, Rob Black was saying these guys are sweating so hard. You can tell that Ottawa's just kind of given up. So in some ways, they gave up in the third. And that's why that margin was so crazy. Fiercely saying, glad our schedule is much better this year. However, I would have felt confident that our current squad could face any adversity as they are extremely solid. My only wish is health. I love that sentiment so much. And Fiercely, you're going to get a dunk for it. That's exactly right. We want to send a lot of positive energy to the Raptors for good health this whole entire season. 104, you got the Golf 104, Fiercey Salsera, with your dunks there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this schedule is way more conducive for Darko to work with. Last year, when they asked Darko about the schedule, he said, I don't care what the schedule is. They're going to give us a schedule. We just got to go through it. He knew that it was not an easy schedule or a fair schedule last year. He was kind of nodding to that, but he said, I don't care. This is our job. The NBA makes the schedule. We have to go do it. And well, that's the way he looks at it. But this schedule is a lot more favorable, a lot more friendly, a lot more doable. Let's just put it that way than the one last year. I could see us having a lot of success at the beginning of the year, even with some tough games and getting some good momentum right from the start and hopefully having a very good record this year. So we'll have to see. You know, the East is wide open and nobody is the top dog anymore. And Indiana's not the best. They're the Eastern Conference champions, right? But they're not going to be the best because of Halliburton. The champion from last year, the Celtics, is not going to be the best because of Tatum. And, you know, the Knicks, I have no faith in. They got Mike Brown as their coach now. And honestly, I think they're going to be a dumpster fire. And are we really thinking the Sixers are going to rise up? Milwaukee's going to be bad. I'm telling you, the spot is there to ascend to for the Toronto Raptors this year. And everybody else may not see this completely because they want to disregard us or just poo-poo us and say, oh, the Raptors wouldn't do this. No, if the opening is there, we'll run right through it and run right up to the top and kick some ass. And you all mark this right now. This is August the 17th. The Raptor Freak is saying this right now. And if this outcome comes out by next April, everybody will say, damn, that dude did call it. Because it's like the rush field just opened right up. And the Raptors ran the ball right through the open field right down to the end of the touchdown. Because that just opened up that way. Because that's the way I look at the Eastern Conference in the NBA this year. It's opening up. And it's ready for a team like Orlando or us or Detroit or Atlanta to run that ball up the field because an opening's there. We might as well do it. Brandon, Scotty, RJ, we might as well do it. Why don't we run the ball up the field and get at the top of the Eastern Conference standings? Because the standings are just open for business for somebody to do that. That's right. That's what I'm saying right there. That's what I want to see. That's right. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free Crew. Good morning to you, Coach. Always good to see the Coach Cool Cat in the chat on a Sunday. That's right. Isaac Campbell's got a menagerie of Raptor faces here. He's got Brandon Ingram. He's got RJ Barrett. He's got Emmanuel Quickly. He's got Scotty. He's got Garrett. He's got Jamal Shed. He's got Ulrich Shamshe. He's got Jakob Pertl. He's got Darko Rajakovic. He's got the Dunk. And he's got Mo. And he's got me. I love that Mo has got Raptors on her shirt now. This is awesome. Look at these awesome emoticons. Nins, you did a good job. Thank you, Tom Duke, also. Thank you, Tom Duke, also. Fiercely saying, I couldn't watch the game, but looked at the box score. No Isaiah Moore, no Dang, Adele. Add to that, no Javante Smart. I said to myself, we're so cooked. You were. Yeah, you were. So Scarborough's kind of a team of destiny right now. They've got a swagger to them. In some ways, they're a weird team. They don't shoot free throws well. They really are bad at free throws, and that has been a huge Achilles heel for them. But they are giant, and they out-rebound the hell out of the other team, and they block a lot of shots, and they dominate with size. And you add a street baller like Terquavian Smith, and man, they are something. And that guy off the bench from Toronto, Kobe Elvis, he's pretty good backup, man. He's pretty good backup. The bench for the Scarborough Shooting Stars has been very strong. Very, very strong. Miller and Elvis, huge players for them off the bench. Huge players for them off the bench. That's right. That's right. Isaac saying the turnover of players on that team is wild. This is something that level of basketball, whether it's 905, whether it's CBL, you're going to have guys coming and going. Frank Kaminsky, sorry, bro. I don't know where you went. Where'd you go? We needed you on 905. Oh, he's just gone, bro. It's just how it happens. It's like in some ways they want to be transitory. So just in case they get the call to the bigger league, they can just shoot on out. And well, this happens in CBL. This definitely happens in CBL. It happens in G League also. Same kind of thing. That's right. Cool Cat saying the first 20 games are tough. I mean, I want to see what you're saying about that because I don't totally see this. Once again, I'm going to tell you right now, Atlanta is very doable to beat in the first game. I want Scotty to remember that game where AJ Griffin hit that game winner against us a couple years ago. You need to remember that receipt, Scotty Barnes. We're going to Atlanta for the first game of the season. Y'all beat Atlanta on both games in Atlanta last year in a home and home with the game separating. I know because my family went the second one. Scotty high-fived my nephew Harrison on the way out. And I'm just saying, y'all can go to Atlanta and win this one too. Remember that buzzer beater by AJ Griffin, Scotty Barnes.
and kick their ass the first game of the season. Get that win and get on a high note right away. Atlanta's got a whole new cast of characters with Nickel and Kristaps and a couple other new players, and they've switched out a bunch of players. They may not know what the fuck they're doing yet. So we need to jump on them right away. That's how we win it right there, Cool Cat. We got Atlanta, a new nucleus in Atlanta. And honestly, we're working together in Madrid already this summer. Brandon Ingram's further along. Our newest addition, Brandon Ingram's going to be more integrated with us than anybody else because he's been on the team for 8 months already. So I'm telling you, they're right for a picking. And don't get scared of Milwaukee. Come on, you going to tell me the Milwaukee Bucks are tough this year? No, they aren't. They're going to be soft. They're going to be middle of the pack and maybe even play in or less. So we should win both those games to start. And then, well, the Texas two-step may be a little tough. I would say both those teams have a lot to figure out at the beginning of the season also with new faces and new players like Cooper Flagg and new players on San Antonio. So I would say these are all doable games because these are teams that are disoriented with new players and they're figuring out their shit. And it's better to play them at the beginning of the season than later on when they figure out their stuff. So it's actually really good. It's really, really good. Houston will be a tough game. I believe Houston will be a tough game, the second home game of the season. That's the game when Fred will come back to Toronto. If you want to see Fred, Adriana, it's October the 29th. Houston will be in Toronto for that game. Cleveland in-season tournament game, by far, that'll be a tough game for sure. But those two games really, I mean, I don't see it. I don't see it, Cool Cat. You're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that includes all our in-season tournament games. Now, in that section that you said is going to be so tough, we're going to play Charlotte twice. We're going to play Washington in the in-season tournament game. We're going to play Philly. We're going to play Brooklyn. We're going to play Brooklyn twice. We're going to play Memphis, and they're disoriented and bad. I don't see what you're saying, Cool Cat. Last year, the first 20 games were way tougher. This year, no. No, Cool Cat. The first 20 games are not tough. They're evened out. There's good teams, there's bad teams, there's mediocre teams, and there's a lot of room for the Raptors to go above and beyond and beat any of them. So, yeah, I don't agree with this. Last year, the first 30 games were tough. The first 30 games were tough last year. This year, no, I'm not going to accept this comment because it's not true. The first 20 games of this season are not tough. We're playing Washington. We're playing Charlotte twice. We're playing the Nets twice in those 20 games. No. There's a percentage of games that are easy that are mixed in with the tough ones. So I can't say this. Trevor's here. Good to see Trevor J. Words of wisdom, Commissioner of Fun. Trevor J. How are you, sir? How are you today, sir? We all woke up this morning by our own strength, but the love of God will allow us to see another day. Love, kindness. I love today. There you go. Like, stay in the moment, stay present, and have gratitude in your hearts, and your life will be happy. Those are the keys to victory and happiness. Is just stay present, stay in the now. Stay in the now and just be very grateful for the great thing you have: roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on the table. That's the basics. All that extra stuff, the greedy stuff that the billionaires want, they're never happy because they have to have everything more and more. They never get there. It's insatiable. And these motherfuckers are psychopaths trying to satiate their insatiable bullshit. Yeah, they need to get back to meager things and things where they can just be happy and gratitude for just having the basics. And then maybe they'll be humbled. And then maybe they will understand truly what the meaning of life is. Because they don't understand it. I mean, Jeff Bezos' mother died recently. I wonder, does that make him humanistic more? Probably not. It didn't take, he went to the space and looked at the earth. And it's like, what did he think? No, he didn't think about how that's a beautiful world where there's a lot of people there and we should care for humanity. No, he thought about ways to exploit us even further in his business ways and shit like that. No, I wonder. Did you feel anything in your heart when your mother died recently, Jeff Bezos? Because to me, you're not a human being. You're a piece of shit, is what I say right there. Yeah, there you go. Let's keep going. Jay just saying, Tim Duncan, most underrated star. I completely agree. Tim Duncan never tooted his own horn, and he should have in some ways because he deserved it. Well, it's up to people like us, James, to toot the horn of Tim Duncan and put it out there how just badass he is. He honestly is a top 5, top 10 greatest player of all time. And I have never denied what Tim Duncan has done in this game. Nope. That was one of the most winningest players in the history of the game ever. That's right. Fiercely saying, in regards to national TV games, of course, the darling Lakers have more than the Pacers, who actually went to the finals. Well, in some ways it's like, I get it. The Lakers are one of the most popular teams in the world, and of course they're going to be put on TV. In some ways, that's just how it is. LeBron's going to be retiring at some point. They got to juice him, get all the juice out of him as they can, you know? So, I mean, I'm not surprised by any of this. Once again, I don't feel slighted by Christmas Day games or national TV games. I don't give a shit about that anymore. In some ways, they want to make it more status and elite. That only speaks to their own inadequacies, that they have to make things like this to make themselves feel better. It's just like the president. It's the same thing. They had to build themselves up or make some sort of elitist class thing just to make themselves feel better. That's kind of sad and pathetic if you think about it. They're just like, oh, we feel great because we have to play on Christmas. Okay. Yeah, you bootlicking sad person. Most people should get Christmas off. In a just world, you don't have to labor on Christmas Day. Okay, you're so happy about that? You get to play on Christmas Day? Oh, you're on national TV? Okay, you go ahead and gatekeep and keep people out from being seen on the national scene by not giving them national games. I don't care. None of that matters. The secret of the Raptors' great, fantastic basketball team and the entertainment that is derived from watching them, that can be our own secret. The whole rest of the world don't need to see it. They'll find it, maybe. They'll find it in ways that they can find it online. They can be hidden, but people will find them if they want to see them. And you know what? They'll watch them, whether they're on national TV or not. Who cares? And like you said, Fiercey, in the chat, I saw what you said. They're going to get more games by the end of the season because we're going to be entertaining, we're going to be winning, and we're going to be fun. And instead of taking games away from us like last year, they're probably going to add a game or two by the end of the year to the Raptors. That's what I think right there. That's right. That's right. Boom goes the dynamite. Boom goes the dynamite. Yeah. Kareem Thomas is saying this. Lex, what part of the schedule do you think is the hardest? Like maybe like a 10-game stretch. All right, let me go look at it real quick. They did a good job of divvying up the long road trips with good and bad teams. I think that there's going to be a really tough stretch in January where we go on that road trip, and it'll kind of be like starting with the Indiana game. We'll go to Indiana and play Pascal and the Pacers, and then we got to come home, play the Clippers, and then hit the road right away. And we'll play the Lakers, the Warriors, the Kings, the Blazers, and the Thunder at the end of that trip. And then the Knicks when we get back. And then we have to go to Orlando. That may be the toughest stretch right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, and the Philly back-to-back before it. That's a stretch that I think is pretty tough. The one in January there. It really is evened out so well that it's hard for me to see these stretches. But I think that road trip in January around that time is going to be a little tough. That time will be a little tough. But the rest of it doesn't really stand out to me as being too difficult. It's very even and very usable. Like even the Boston games are hidden and not that scary or ominous. Of course, they're not as ominous and scary as a team with Tatum out, right? So, all right, let's keep going. Stargate's here. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Good morning to you, Stargate. I like the schedule. It's okay. It's not terrible. And it's not amazing. It's just okay. Staying healthy is the key to a successful season. Yeah, we want the tough spots like the one I just pointed out to Kareem because those are the tests. We want the ability to have beats of every other day games, which a lot of this is. So he's a day on, day off, day on, day off. A lot of that this season. And then also we want the chance to have a range of opponents that aren't just all tough all in a row. We got a tough game, a easy game, a tough game, a mediocre game, an easy game, a mediocre game. That's the kind of diversity we want in the games coming at us. Is we don't want to get just browbeat by a really tough schedule where every single team is just so tough. But I'll say this, the league has gotten worse since last year. I'm telling you right now, the league was kind of peaking with a lot of teams peaking up and looking really good, but a lot of them were sussed out as pretenders. And we found out in the playoffs. And this will be the same kind of thing, except this year, I feel like some of the moves that have happened this offseason have actually made teams worse that were good last year. And I think the Knicks will look like a worse team this year. I think they're going to look way worse. Milwaukee's going to look way worse too. So, and I think Orlando's not going to be that good either this year, guys. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. Fiercey, I read that one about Fiercey. Kareem saying Orlando, Atlanta, and the Raptors are looking for a good jockeying position in the depleted East. Yeah, Detroit. Put Detroit in there. In fact, I have more faith in Detroit and us than the other two teams. I have more faith in the Pistons and the Raptors than the Magic and the Hawks in this season coming up. I do. Stargate saying the first 6 games in October, healthy, the Raptors match up pretty good with all those teams. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a good spread out. And, there's some really good tests put you into the fire right away. That Cleveland in-season tournament game on Halloween is going to be a big, huge test. And it's going to be fun to watch. We're going to have to see what happens there. We're going to see what happens. Military Man, good morning, sir. We do this stream on the Raptors every single morning, 9:30 a.m., talking Raptors, talking Team Canada basketball, talking CBL, talking Toronto Tempo, talking basketball in Canada in general. Military Man saying, will we beat the Hawks on opening night? Both teams fully healthy. I think so. If we're both fully healthy, like I was saying earlier, I think that the Hawks have more new faces than we do. Our turnover wasn't that big this offseason. We've added Sandro Mamu as a backup center, and we got all our guys pretty much back from last year. Brandon Ingram's been secretly in the fold with us since the trade deadline, and he's been working out with us on the down low behind the scenes, and he's very much more ahead than people will think at the beginning of the season, because he's been very much paying attention a lot and like learning everything behind the scenes. And he's a lot more up to speed than people are going to think. He's been healthy since June. And so he's been practicing with the Raptors all summer. And he was in Madrid with the team at the mini training camp a couple weeks ago. So I think a lot of people may be shocked at just how integrated Brandon is when we show up with him healthy and on our lineup. And in some ways, I would argue that people like Kristaps and Nickel and the other new guys on the Hawks are going to have to get more integrated. And that may be more difficult, especially with Porzingis being such a central player. But I think that Brandon is going to be on the down low coming in already to play with us in a right way, because they're already, he's very much a basketball student, and he's talked to Darko about his philosophies and what he visions. And he's taking it all in. He's getting himself downloaded to be the kind of player the Raptors want him to be on the court. And he's excited about it. I can tell too. Brandon wants to reclaim his NBA career and show people who he really is. And he knows that Kawhi did something special in Toronto, and he wants to do it too. So we may very much see Brandon Ingram this year that is revitalized, healthy, and absolutely devastating power in the NBA this year. I fully expect it. So I think that, when we go to Atlanta for opening night against the Hawks, that we have a really good chance to match them up and, get that win on the road in the first game of the season. Scotty is healthy. Emmanuel's healthy. RJ's healthy. Jakob's healthy. Brandon's healthy. We got our starters, and then we got our amazing bench. We have a very underrated bench that nobody's talking about. We're very, very deep. And we're going to be very, very, very difficult to play, because we have a starting 5 that's offensively super gifted, that have all kinds of different weapons that they can do. And if they're losing because they're getting beat, we got these defensive stoppers that are going to come in off the bench. It's going to be a little reminiscent of the Oklahoma City crew from the finals this year with Caruso and Cason Wallace. We're going to have guys like that coming out, hounding everybody. Jamal Shed, Elijah Martin, Chucky Hepburn, Grady Dick, and Oshai Abaji, Jacoby Walter, the people like that. We have a very, very good bench, and nobody's going to talk about that in the mainstream mainstream media and the NBA. But they'll find out as the season goes on, and they'll report on it by the end of the year. Watch, they will. Good to see you, Military Man. I hope we'll see you more often here in the channel. Thanks for the question. Coquette saying NBA being sketchy with national games will adjust as usual over the coming seasons. They assume but forget about league parity. Snub teams will surprise once again. It depends. It's not necessarily how good the team is, honestly. That's obvious with the Lakers treatment. The Lakers have been a 500 or below team for years recently, and it doesn't matter how many games they get. They're going to get all the games anyway, even if they're a losing team. So it's really about marketing. It's about marketability. It's about fandom. And there's a huge Lakers fan base that will tune in and watch them. And that's why they get the games, even if their team's poor. It's just, that's part of it. In some ways, they're going to schedule the national TV games for what they think the people want. And, well, maybe they're not totally right on all of it. That's what I would say right there. Yeah, Fiercely saying, agree, Cool Cat. Military Man saying, I believe Scotty will make Jalen Johnson's life terrible that game. Same with Trey. We got a lot of good defenders. They're going to put their best defender on Ingram. Then what about Barnes and RJ? This is the thing. If this is a boat with leaks in it, you can't plug all the holes. I'm sorry. because the Raptors have these weapons and they're diversified. You got to worry about the quick change of speed of Emmanuel quickly in transition. You got to worry about RJ Barrett just barreling to the lane like a freight train and just barreling through people and laying it up like LeBron would. You got to worry about the diversity of Scotty's game, whether he's going to do stuff in the mid-range and the turnarounds and the post, or he's going to bomb threes, or he's just going to be a creative passer and get guys open. You got to worry about the dimension of Brandon now. And that may be the most devastating add-on to our team going forward, is having a guy who's more like the Slim Reaper than the Slim Reaper is at this point. Because I'm saying, I mean, I could predict this right now that Brandon Ingram may be more like Kevin Durant than Kevin Durant is at this point. And that could be a lot of fun for the Raptors this year, especially with clutch situations where we absolutely need a basket like Kawhi used to do for us. Well, Brandon's going to be doing that for us this year. And Military Man's exactly right. You know, to try and guard the Raptors starting five is a nightmare, because usually you have one guy you can key on, but you can't. They're all going to be potently dangerous. Even Jakob. Jakob has his own set of problems that he presents for people. So I really love this. I love what you're saying about him getting Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson, it's weird because Hawks fans love him. They look at him and they overvalue him like crazy. I think he's a talented guy. I think he's a great player. He's got a lot of potential, but he hasn't done jack shit in his career hardly. And they get ahead of themselves and saying, "Oh, he's this and this." And they, you know, I see it on social media spaces where Hawks fan will be arguing that Jalen Johnson's better than Scotty Barnes, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, no, just stop." And that's why I want to see what you're saying here. I want to see Scotty lock him up and make it no doubt who the better player in the NBA is, Barnes over Johnson. Oh, yeah. I hear this comparison. I'm just like, what are you saying? Jalen Johnson's better than Scotty Barnes. You're crazy. You're crazy. Put down the Atlanta strip club hot wing that's got you all intoxicated with craziness. Seriously. Seriously, man. Yeah. I've also said this, Military Man. Any team that is built around Trae Young is going to lose, because Trae Young is a high usage, low efficiency player, and he's a defensive liability. And in some ways, Atlanta's doomed as long as their team is built around him. It's similar to Luka in Dallas. You're doomed to lose every single time because there's certain deficiencies with your franchise player that are just going to get you to that road and that outcome in the end anyway. I think Trae Young's a talented player, a great player, but in some ways, he's not a winning player in the NBA. And it'll get proven every time, where it's like, look, you have a deficiency on defense. And in some ways, you can be exploited. And if you're not making your shot, well, your team's sunk because they can't do anything with you in absence. Kind of like the Indiana Pacers without Halliburton. It's a similar kind of player. It's a similar kind of player. Great comment. Once again, Military Man, it's some interesting stuff, man. James saying, Lex, can we be a top 4 team in the East? Of course. Of course. Hey, we can do this for sure. I think that we can. I think we'll be top 6 at least. If we're, I want to be a regular playoff team. I don't want to be in the play-in this year. Let's get a bona fide playoff spot, because in some ways, once again, that's another way that they kind of put down other teams. Oh, you're a play-in team. You're not a full playoff team. No, let's get that full playoff team this year. We deserve it. Brandon said it's his promise. He said, we're going to go to the playoffs. He didn't say play-in, guys. When Brandon was interviewed this summer, he said, I like this team. I think it was very good, and we're going to get in the playoffs. He said playoffs. He didn't say play-in. So let's not mess around. And if we get in the top 4, that's home court right there. That's home court. A Military Man saying, one thing about the Hawks is they don't have much on ball scorers. I feel their offense is going to take a hit when Trae is off, should go on big runs. Yeah, and I'm not even sure. Like, it'll be interesting to scout them for the first game of the season, because there has been a shuffle up there. There is a lot of different parts on their team all of a sudden. Like, Clint Capella's gone, and they've switched them for Porzingis, and that's a big difference. In some ways, you're getting a more offensive center, but maybe less rebounding and defense, because Porzingis is not as good as Capella. So we gotta have to see where these kind of switches and how it all lays out for that team. And there's been a lot of movement with that team. So I'll have to look at them closely the day of the game. I'll do my preview in the morning, and I'll kind of gauge how I see their personnel now with their current unit. Dyson Daniels is an amazing talent, and he is really coming up, and like, man, he's really something. But where are their weaknesses? Where are their strengths? And I think that their strength of having Trae Young as a franchise player is a strength in some ways, but it's a huge weakness also.
Huge weakness. Yeah. I think the on-ball scores thing is definitely true. Definitely true about them. Fiercey saying, going to a brunch with my high school friends. Okay. Enjoy your Sunday, fam. Well, look at the Moticon parades. You're going to have some pancakes, maybe an egg, a cup of coffee. There's the egg frying in the frying pan, and there's a waffle. There you go. Brunch time. Hello. Brunch is served. Let's go. Fiercey saying the whole Raptor squad is going to be a problem. I like the dichotomy between the starters' offensive juggernautness. Like, I really do want Darko to leave two of the starters out on the court at all times. Like, if it's RJ and Emmanuel, if it's Jakob and Scotty, if it's Brandon and RJ, I just want to have that firepower from the starters out there at all times. We need an offensive outlet so there's no stagnation with our offense. And if we keep some of the high quality, most gifted scorers out on the court, we should always have a release valve for getting a basket in tough times where things are kind of not going exactly right. That's why you got a Brandon Ingram on your team. It's that there's no bumps in the road where you're not scoring for like 3 minutes. That's why I hope Darko has a plan with his rotation where he's always going to have at least one of the barbecue out there, if not two of them. And that would be good. And then you're bringing in guys like Shed and Abaji and Jacoby and Sandra Mamu that in some ways they add an active presence that's a very defensive presence and also a very like agitating presence. And that's the thing. I love that. I love that aspect of like, we're going to bring in defensive players to clamp down, but keep some of the offensive firepower from the starters out there also at the same time. There's a lot of promise in that. And the bench mob 2.0 hopefully will be coming this year. Will have that effect. I mean, in the past, when we had the bench mob before with DeMar and Kyle and Jonas and the starters, there were a lot of games where the Raptors were getting beat. The starters were getting beat. And then Fred and Norman and Jakob would come out as the bench mob, and they'd come take the lead as the bench, and they would outscore the other team. I think this could happen a lot. There may be some games where our starters are flat offensively, and they're absolutely horrible, and they're getting their butt kicked because they're not playing the best defense either. And the other team gets a 10-point lead, but then we put in Shed and his crew, and all of a sudden we're winning in the next couple minutes because they're just like that. So we'll have to see. That's a real sign of a true bench mob, is what I just described. If we can see that happen right there. That's right. Fiercely got the mic drop. There you go. Monique is here. Good to see the super fan Monique Lawrence, the greatest, our Facebook leader, and just in general, a beacon of hope and light and positivity in this world, and especially a role model in our Raptors fan nation. That's right. Let's see what Mo's saying this morning. Good morning, Raptor Free crew. Very balanced schedule. I like it. 15 back-to-backs. These guys are prepared, etc. Yeah, the 15 back-to-backs are not that bad. Seriously, going over them, there's a lot of home and home back-to-backs where we just stay in Toronto for both games. Some of the travel ones are like Houston to New Orleans, Sacramento from San Francisco. They're really, really not ridiculous. And another thing is I like that the NBA is being more green-friendly. I like these series where they stay in the same city, less jet travel. It all helps with emissions and trying to be more green. And it's like, it's stupid for teams to have to fly across the nation here and then come here and then go there and there and there, like a lot of zigzag stuff. You want the course of your trips to make sense so that you're not flying back and forth in time zones and all over the place extra that you don't have to. They came out with the stats about the kilometers traveled, and the Raptors are in the bottom third of the league for less miles traveled this season in their schedule. So that's a good sign too, right there. Isaac's got the team on blast. I love to see it. Military man saying, let's say is Dyson on Ingram, Johnson on Scotty. Yeah, that could be very likely. Cool. RJ would love to drop 27 on your third best defender. IQ would love a bad defender on the perimeter. Let's not forget Yak is a beast inside. Yeah, this is all exactly right. And, Porzingis against Jakob could kind of muscle him a little bit. The length of Porzingis is a little bit of a problem. But, if he uses strength and bodies him, Porzingis can fold and get out of the way. And Yak can go up and be very powerful. Yeah, IQ and RJ could be a very big part of this scenario as far as like who else is on their starters for the Hawks. Who else is going to come and take care of RJ after those premium defenders that they've got are taking on Brandon and Scotty? This is exactly right.
There may be a kind of a zone defense where they're kind of playing on the ball and switching. And I don't know. We'll have to see how teams deal with us. And we'll have to see how Darko develops our offensive system. And especially with new weapons with Ingram involved. Yeah, good stuff. I like the focus on the first game, the Atlanta game that Military Man's putting on here. Yeah, let's not forget about Grady as well. That's right. Yeah, Grady can come out there and hopefully be instant offense for us off the bench. I see him and Jacoby as kind of a similar kind of role as far as like, we got two guys that are options for scoring a lot off the bench really fast if we need that. And in some ways, I want Grady to really be aggressive with his three this year coming into games. And, Jacoby has a whole growth path as a scorer that I'd like to see continue in his second year where, he's mixing it up with the drives to the basket with the 3-point shooting. And it's great. If one of them is not having a good night, well, they get the bench for that night and hopefully the other one's hitting, so there's some options there. And Abaji is involved in this too, of course. Military Man saying even then Jalen Johnson is an okay defender. He can't hold Scotty all game. Yeah. And I don't even think that it's the kind of thing like they're going to have to respect Scotty and keep tabs on him, but our focal points won't be Scotty. In some ways, it's kind of like Scotty will be forgotten about because maybe we're going through Brandon and RJ so much that Scotty becomes an afterthought. And then later in the game, Scotty turns it on and says, you know what? You guys haven't been guarding me all game because you have to guard RJ. You have to guard Brandon. And now it's my time. And I'm going to rise up at the end and win the game for us by dominating you in the low post. And oh, crap. We forgot about Scotty being able to do this. The Hawks coaches said. That kind of stuff could happen, man. I'm telling you. G saying the dog squad will cause problems to the Hawk bench. That's the other thing. If we have this underrated young bench that nobody's given respect to because a lot of them were rookies last year, is, we'll catch people by surprise. And I really do believe that, like, everybody who says the Raptors aren't good enough to compete in the NBA, you're wrong because we're so much under 25 years old. And we have so many guys that are working so damn hard this summer as far as increasing their game and their skills, getting their bodies better. There's so much investment of time and effort, and these guys want this, that they're going to come up as individuals, and then as a collective, they come up as a team. And everybody keeps saying, oh, we don't have a good enough team to compete and be a champion. Bullshit. Let these youngsters grow like Oklahoma City did, and you could see them get a Larry O'Brien in the next few years. It's just that, we got to do it the right way. There's no rushing and skipping steps like trying to land a big free agent or go and tank to get to the top of the draft. No, you do it correctly. You draft smart. You make good decisions on all your decisions because making mistakes in the new salary cap era is a death bell for your team and being able to compete. You make a misstep as a GM right now, that is a big, big problem. You can't be casual about being a GM and like, oh, we'll get it next time. No, you need to hit it every time on your picks because this is the new NBA and parity is strong. And that's one of the ways you're competing. We're competing through Bobby Webster. And Bobby Webster needs to be a capologist and he needs to get the absolute best out of the cap and the ability of what he can do with our roster. And in some ways, he can't afford to make a misstep with a free agent or a draft pick because we need to make everything hit. And then when all these guys are on our team, Jamal Shea gets better. Jacoby Walter gets better. Grady Dick gets better. Scotty Barnes gets better. We get better as a team because they all throw in their bit of getting better. And then, boom, cumulatively, all of a sudden, the Raptors are a top 4 team in the East. And people are like, holy shit, how did they get so good so far? They were young, and they grew up, and they got better, and they developed together as a core. That's the other part of it, too. That's why we can't get impatient, Raptors fans. We need to let Darko cook on the simmer and the cook that he's doing to build this team to where it's supposed to go. And so many NBA fans are so microwave culture. They want everything now, like DoorDash. I'm like, no, it's not how it works. In NBA, all the successful teams have years and years of building up to their NBA championships. Denver didn't win overnight. They had to do it over time. And that's just how it is. Oklahoma City built up to get to where they got to this year. And the Raptors have to build up again, just like they did with DeMar and Kyle to get to 2019. And we're going to do it. We're doing it right now. We're currently in the middle of it. And I really think that the progress is going really well. The charisma and the attitudes and the aura of the team is just really high. And these young players are super skilled. And I do really believe in the vision and the roster build of what we're doing. Some people may be confused by it. They're like, well, the Raptors don't make any sense. What do they do? You're not trying to look at us to make sense. You already told yourself in your head, I'm going to look at the Raptors and act confused. If you really looked at it with open eyes and sussed it out, you might have an opinion of it. There's like, oh, crap, maybe they are going to do something really good because they figured out something. That's how I look at it right there. That's right. Mo's saying, bring on the season. I'm excited and ready. Happy for Evan Gilliard. I always send him messages after his games, and he sees them. Yeah, Evan Gilliard was a huge factor in Calgary beating Vancouver yesterday because it was the Elam ending, and they had a target score. And the Calgary Surge were actually behind Vancouver by 1 point when they started the Elam ending. They were at a disadvantage by 1 point. The target score was 105. And, well, the score was 103 to 102 for Vancouver. Yeah, Vancouver only needed to make one more basket. Evan Gilliard got fouled on a three-point attempt, and he went to the free throw line for 3 free throws. Well, guess what happened? He was at 102. Vancouver was at 103, and the score was 105 to win. Well, guess who made all 3 of his free throws and under pressure and under clutch to win the game at the free throw line? That's right, Evan Gilliard II of the Raptors 905 last year. That's right. He hit all 3 of the shots, and he put Vancouver out for the season with those free throws. And that's tough, man. I mean, he could have missed one of them, and they would have been one short, and then the rebound comes off, and the Bandits run down this court, and they lay the ball in, and they win. But no, Evan Gilliard hit all 3 free throws to ice the game for Calgary Surge, and they get the ticket to Winnipeg to play the Sea Bears and Jalen Harris next week in the championship week in Winnipeg. Yeah, and it's cool how they do it. They're going to have all the games next week in Winnipeg. They make it a big, huge festival with music and all kinds of stuff. They make an event. So it's like a Final Four like NCAA because you have the Eastern and Western Conference finals in the same place on next Saturday. And then they have the championship game at the same venue also. So there's 3 games during championship week in CBL. And they all play them in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's the host team and the host place to have it. So it's kind of cool, eh? Yeah, who's Trey guarding? Trey's trying to guard Emmanuel, right? Trey's going to guard Emmanuel, right? That's what I would think. Most saying, way to push through these games, Yak, for Austria. You know, this is the thing about Yak. And he put this out on his thing yesterday. Let's talk about the game between Bulgaria and Austria yesterday. In Bulgaria, yeah, Austria lost. And there was a lot of factors to why Austria lost to Bulgaria. Now, I thought that would eliminate them from the pre-qualifier for Euro Cup, but no, apparently they have qualified. And Yak said in his post yesterday, we're successful. We got to the next round, even though they're 2-2 in their action in this pre-qualifier action. It's weird. The home team has been winning all the games in this. Netherlands won against Austria and Netherlands. Austria beat Netherlands and Bulgaria in Austria. And then they go to Bulgaria, and Austria loses to Bulgaria. So they were 2-2 in their record in this. Now, Netherlands still has to play Bulgaria in Bulgaria. And if Bulgaria beats Netherlands in Bulgaria, that means all of the home teams won in this weird pre-qualifier. And all 3 teams will be 2-2. It's crazy. And I don't know how they suss that out. But apparently Jakob is saying that they have qualified and gotten to the next round. And that's all that in some ways his duty was to help Austria, was to succeed to get through the next round. Now, the game yesterday was ugly in certain ways. The crowd in Bulgaria was very much like a football crowd or a soccer crowd, chanting and blowing horns and yelling and singing songs and getting very loud about decisions on the court. The referees make a call against Bulgaria, and they're like yelling and booing and getting angry. And it was very lively energy in that arena, and the people were going crazy. That home energy helped Bulgaria a lot. Austria is not a good shooting team, but when they're at home, they shoot better. When the home team crowd is there cheering them on, they can get going. But on the road, they're horrible. In Netherlands, they were horrible there, and they were horrible in Bulgaria yesterday too. Jakob came out, and he got 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes of the game. They put him on foul trouble right away, and that was a huge factor. It helped Bulgaria get going with good vibes because Jakob was out of there, and there was no paint presence defensively for Austria. They couldn't stop them. It's like Bulgaria was going in the lane and just laying it up, and we're like, where the hell is Yak? While we're watching, Isaac Campbell, Wayne Strainer, and I watching the game yesterday. Where the hell is Yak? Well, he's on the bench in foul trouble. And Bulgaria got the good vibes. Some of them got real cocky and they're like, oh, we're bombing shots. We're making this. We're making that. They were hitting a lot of threes. And then at the end of the game, when Austria had a chance to try and come back, it was close enough. They just got hot, Bulgaria. And they just started jamming threes through in the last 2 minutes. And they just really accelerated the lead and they killed them and they won the game. And the Bulgarian crowd was very happy. There's one guy in the front row wearing an orange shirt. He was crazy. He kept jumping up out of his seat the whole game. And he was so passionate for Bulgaria. He was like the Nav Bhatia of Bulgaria. He was just crazy. He was jumping all over the place and stuff. Yeah, and on the Austrian side, Friedrich really pissed me off. The point guard, number 6, he looks like Ringo Starr. I was calling him Austrian Ringo Starr. Motherfucker tried to play hero ball too much in the second half, trying to take the ball himself. Well, Jakob's out there, brotherfucker. Give him the ball. Stop messing around. That man's in the NBA. He makes $20 million a year. You need to give that man the ball and start putting it through him. No, he was trying to play hero ball and beat people one-on-one. His little short ass. He was a big problem. He really screwed up Austria's chances to come back because he turned the ball over. He just missed shots. And I'm like, Friedrich, give it up, man. You're not like that. You are not him. So stop, bro. Get the ball to Jakob Poeltl. Jesus. So, yeah, that's a bit about what happened in the Austria-Bulgaria game yesterday. We watched it on Discord. It's a premium membership part of the channel. If you love watching games and want to watch them with me, where I'm commentating and putting my observations out as the game's going on, Discord membership to this YouTube channel will get you there. And we watched 2 games in a row yesterday. It was fun. We had a doubleheader, 11 o'clock, Austria, Bulgaria, and then at 1 o'clock, CBL, Scarborough versus Ottawa. It was a joy to watch it with Isaac and Wayne and Adriana and a couple other people that came in there. Fantastic stuff. But yeah, that's what the breakdown was for Austria, Bulgaria yesterday. Yak lost, but they still qualify in advance. And I guess that's the whole thing that's important. Norman Powell, very successful for Jamaica, qualifying them. Also, Bruno Fernando helping Angola qualify in the Afro Cup stuff that's going on in Africa right now, too. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff, yeah. Military Man saying, I don't know why I'm always nervous for the first game. You know, it'll be fun. I'm really excited about this year. I really am. I feel like the Raptors are going to have a bit of a rebirth of good feelings and positive stuff and fun. And there'll be a lot of enthusiasm around the team. God willing, we'll be very healthy. Brandon Ingram will be absolute huge bonus add-on for our team. And fans will get a little bit more excited and, you know, more encouraged to come to the games and support the team and be more positive about them. Because they're not a loser team. These guys are good players, and they're going to show it this year. I really do believe it. So, yeah, I'm not as nervous about this year as I have in past years and stuff like that. I think that I feel a lot more confident about the Raptors in their position this year. And I feel like last year scared the hell out of me. Looking at the schedule last year, going into the start of it, I was like, holy crap, they are making them go through a gauntlet. Like right from the start. This is insane what they're making them do right from the start. And, well, it was tough, and it was tough. But you know what? To their credit, even though the schedule was extremely tough last year, they played 500 basketball for a good part of that really tough schedule at the beginning of the year before they got hurt. Before Scotty got hit in the elbow, hit with the elbow by Jokic in the Denver game, they were 500 team until that Nuggets game and Jokic, that errant elbow to Scotty's eye and broke his orbital. So, yeah. Wayne's here. Good to see Wayne. I was watching the games with Wayne yesterday. Morning, Raptor Freaks. Yep, dog days of summer. Thanks to FIBA, WNBA, and now CBL to break the boredom. Sorry, Lex. European football is not boring when talent is on the pitch like most teams. See, I don't know. I'm not watching the European soccer or football. Did I say it was boring? No, I was just saying that the crowd in Bulgaria was like that. They were very much like that. I mean, I guess I did say soccer's boring this week. We were kind of going over sports and whether we like them or not. And I was just saying, I don't get it. These people can run around for 90 minutes up and down the field and just like kick a ball around. Okay. And then maybe 0-0. And then there's stoppage time. And then they're going to play even more. And then what? There's going to be a penalty kick. And then they kick it in. The game's over. Okay. Y'all ran around for like 100 minutes. And yeah, it was just a bunch of people running around. I'm sorry. That's just my take. I mean, other people want to see the art in soccer, AKA/football, as it's called around the world, but I just don't. It's lost on me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's just lost on me. It's just how it is.
I like this. Yesterday, Wayne and I were marveling at the professionalism, the sheen, the amazing product that CBL is. I think if a league is going to put the word elite in their name, Canadian Elite Basketball League, they better have elite things about it. And I tell you, the graphics, the presentation, the courts, the referees, the talent, the level of play in CBL is very high, and it is elite, and it is entertaining, and it's fun. One of the things Wayne and I were marveling about yesterday is that the CBL plays basketball fundamentals, and they play all out. In some ways, there's a lot of hearkening to 80s and 90s NBA basketball in the CBL. And there's a very good talent level in there. And there's, like he said, he sees more dunks in a CBL game than he does in a FIBA game. And I'm more and more a CBL fan this week from going to that playing game against Montreal Alliance and Scarborough Shooting Stars and watching the game yesterday, seeing the presentation and seeing Rod Black calling the game. And it's just a very high quality product, and I'm proud of it. And you can tell it's growing really well. Maybe some people in this country are like, yeah, screw the NBA. It's American. We're boycotting America. Let's go Canada. I love basketball. I'm a CBL fan now. And attendance for CBL games has been fantastic this season. And it's all on the up and up. It's all going up. So I'm excited for CBL. I think it's a very good professional league, and they earn that elite status because they put out a good product. They really, really do. That's how I feel. Most saying W Stream, W Vibes, go Raptors for life. Keep at it, Lex. Always. Raptor Freak Crew strong forever, just helping me limit the comments. I appreciate that. We're about an hour and a half in. We'll go 2 hours. So I got about another half hour to play with to finish up all the segments that we do. Canada going for gold at Global Jam in the women's. Yeah, the men were eliminated. Did not win enough to get to the gold medal game today at Mattamy Center. They're going to have the end of the Global Jam today in the gold medal games. And I don't know who's playing it exactly. I've really kind of not paid attention to Global Jam as much as I should in some ways. I guess I just really got into CBL this week, and I'm more paying attention to WNBA and Toronto Tempo and Raptors affairs. But, man, I got to start paying more attention to Global Jam. I was going to go this year, but I ended up not going. I don't know. You're right. This is a blind spot. I need to cover Global Jam better. I'm not even paying attention to who won or nothing. You're paying attention way more than me, Mo. And in some ways, you watched way more than me. I didn't watch a single minute of Global Jam at all. I probably should have. Let's see. On ESPN.com, there's an article about the NBA Players Association Union, led by Fred VanVleet, that they want to, they are backing bet limits to curb manipulation and athlete abuse. This is the way I stand on gambling in basketball, is get rid of the personal player bets. Nobody should be parlaying on specific players, because in some ways you're giving too much power to that individual player to manipulate bets like Jonte Porter did. And it is, as a whole other kit and caboodle. If you're going to make sports bets on the NBA, they should be team oriented, and they should stop putting personal bets on personal players, because listen, could be caused a whole kinds of problems with fans interacting with players because they're upset about parlays not hitting. And in some ways, you could get rid of this problem immediately by making it only team betting. You can maybe make bets on scores, maybe make bets on team rebounds or whatever, but it shouldn't be on individuals' stats and very specific things like you don't get this many threes. Well, we hit on this parlay. Well, boom, you get Jonte Porter. And this shit is going to happen again. Michael Porter Jr. is right. There's going to be a young knucklehead who comes to the NBA, and they're going to get together with their friends and try and enrich them in a really seedy way, just like Jonte did. So NBA, and just stop being such degenerates. This gambling experiment has been, mostly bad. I don't think it's been mostly good. I mean, profits are going to gambling companies, and they're making money off of people, but I don't know if it's been a good thing or good for the sport in any kind of way other than enriching people in corporations that have gambling companies. So it's like, you need to get rid of the personal bets. And Fred VanVleet and the Players Association are going to come and bring a deal to you for that. That's what I'm hearing. That's right. That's right. Stargate saying, Lex, who do you see as the top 3 teams in the East as it looks right now? Well, without seeing them play, and I'm just looking at them on paper, I think Cleveland is one of the top 3 teams. I mean, possibly the Knicks. The Knicks may be a top 3 team, but they're going to be dysfunctional on the down low, and they're going to be a team that absolutely screws up in the playoffs. Even if they have a good regular season and the NBA makes them look good marketing, they will screw up in the playoffs at some point. They won't win the Larry, but they could be one of the top seeded Eastern Conference teams. I can see New York, Cleveland, and I don't know, the third team out of the top right now, without putting us up there and being a total homer. Realistically, I would say maybe it is maybe Detroit, honestly. I think those three teams might be the three best teams in the East. It's not Boston. Boston's going to lose on purpose. Philadelphia, if they're not healthy, they're going to be just like last year. And Milwaukee, I really have no confidence. Indiana's going to fall too this year. In some ways, Indiana might be not as bad as people think without Halliburton, but I think that missing Miles Turner will help hurt them too, and not having a real center at this point. So there's a couple problems with Indiana. Let's see. But yeah, I think it's those three teams. I'm going to say Detroit, but maybe we flip out Detroit for Atlanta or Orlando or even Toronto. One of those four teams is the third best team. So yeah, let's see. Stargate saying you're going to see less of a reliance on the 3-point shot this season and an uptick in mid-range shots. Watch for it. We'll have to see. The game is evolving, and I'm just glad that we have a basketball philosopher and a visionary named Darko Rajakovic as our coach. He's trying to get ahead of the trends in the league. He studies everything about it, and in some ways, that's how he decides what he's doing, is because he wants to be ahead of the curve and innovative in ways that other coaches aren't doing already. And well, I like what he's doing with his European style passing offense. It's been very fun to watch. It's very entertaining. And I look forward to our gifted, talented players learning it better and playing it better and better as time goes on. Because look, Darko's got a phone book of plays. He's described it that way. And he's only opening up the first couple pages right now, the very basic framework, skeleton framework of his offensive vision. As these players get more used to him, as he gets more trust in them, as far as what they're going to listen, and they build more and more on the knowledge of what they're doing, they're going to get more intricate. They're going to get more specialized. They're going to get more interesting and more detailed. And he's going to open up his phone book of plays and go deeper into the more complicated stuff and lay it on his players more and more as time goes on. So I'm very excited about that. I know about this phone book. He's talked about it. And well, he says he has plays forever. And if we have to get new plays and new ideas, he's got them. He's got them in a big, huge phone book. He's ready to teach them to Scotty and crew as they're ready, as he builds it on top. He doesn't want to overwhelm them. He doesn't want to put too much on them. So he starts with the basic skeleton framework, and they learn, and then they build onto that, and they get to more of what his ultimate vision is with his offense. And we're going to see some of that. And mid-range is probably going to be a part of it. Mid-range is probably going to be a part of it. All right, guys, straight goods on Canadian goods today. Guys, you may be out in the sun right now because it's August and it's the summertime. And, we all want to support Canada more and more in this tariff war with USA. So let's keep buying Canadian products. If you're going to McDonald's, you're going to Starbucks, just stop. Just stop. You can go to Second Cup. You can go to A&W. These are Canadian companies. So listen, you got to get sunscreen because you're going to be out in the sun. Well, there's a Canadian-owned company, 100% Canadian, all around Canadian. You're supporting Canada. Is Annabelle. Annabelle sunscreen is a Canadian product. If you're familiar with Annabelle sunscreen, well, you're supporting Canada, and that's a great sunscreen to buy. So if you're going to go buy some sunscreen, buy Annabelle. Annabelle is 100% Canadian sunscreen company. So there you go. Annabelle is the name of the sunscreen. There you go. All right, let's see. Next comment, next thing. Let's go. Let's do the Instagram stories. We're starting with, where in the world is Serge Ibaka? Well, we knew Serge Ibaka was in Toronto this week because we saw him around Roncesvalles. We saw him with Hello and Welcome podcast. We saw him with Lindsey Dunn. We saw him in select Spanish restaurants drinking Spanish beer. Yeah, well, Serge is back in Congo, Brazzaville. That's where he is right now, Congo, Brazzaville. He's back with the Serge Ibaka Foundation, back in the motherland, back in his home country, and he is back to support and philanthropy. There you go. There's Bruno Fernando's Instagram is 66-64. Angola winning their game yesterday, and their top player was Abu Gaku. So good job, Angola, and I believe they qualified, as I said, in the AfroBasket recently in the games that they played right now. So that's very, very good. There's Bruno in the 24 for Angola. Good stuff, man. Qualified for the quarterfinals. There you go. What about Lloyd's putting somebody on blast? I'm not even sure that guy is. David somebody.
David dunking the ball. So yeah, Lloyd's got a friend named David. That's what that is all about. Also, he's in Fort Myers. He said downtown Fort Myers, but it's a dock with a bunch of boats. There's that. That's downtown. Is in the water. Fort Myers, Florida. That's where Lloyd is right now. He's in Fort Myers. If nothing changes, nothing changes. That's what he's saying. Scotty Barnes on the court, and he was seen working out with Elijah Martin in Florida. Scotty's down there with Brian Macon and Elijah Martin and putting in some work on the court. Of course, there was also a clip of Scotty that came out yesterday from his Twitch session on Friday night, going over the signing of Chris Boucher to Boston Celtics, saying that it hurt. It hurt real bad to see Chris leave. It's just that it's tough. It's just a business and just how it is. But yeah, he's sad about Chris leaving the team. He is very, very sad about that. He did talk about that on Twitch on Friday night, apparently. But yeah, Scotty's got a workout video on his Instagram with him and Brian Macon. And there is video of him with Elijah Martin working out in Central Florida right now. Jonathan Mobo is saying this to us on a Sunday morning: get right with Yahweh. You got to get right with him. The greatest wealth is having God, a healthy body, a peaceful mind, and the right people in your life. There you go, Jonathan. We love that sentiment from you, sir. Your second-year Raptor. Kelly Olynyk got the foods on display once again. Man, you killing me, man. That looks like cheesy bread. He looks like he's got that focaccia or whatever cheese, and then he's got some sort of meatballs and sauce or something. Man, Kelly, why you do this to me, man? You're going to make me eat like a horse today because I seen this food and my appetite just grew. Oh, my gosh, there's a meat lover's pizza that's got ham and pepperoni and mushrooms and stuff. Kelly, why do you do this, man? And how much food are you eating a day? Seriously, did you eat? Is this one meal, all this food you're showing here, or is that lunch and dinner? Oh, my gosh, man. Oh, my gosh. How are you not ballooning? That's what I'm wondering. AJ Lawson at Global Jam in his Instagram pictures. There he is out in town. And he's also on a boat, guys, out in Lake Ontario. AJ Lawson cruising around. You see the CN Tower in Lake Ontario. That's right. He's just living his life, man. He's got a good life, man. AJ's living the dream of a Brampton kid. That's right. Jamison Battle is putting on blast Jameer Nelson Jr. for his 39 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 3-pointers made for Calgary Surge in their win yesterday over Vancouver. So Jamison has a tie to Jameer Nelson Jr. That's interesting. There's Evan Gilliard's Instagram. All the great success yesterday for him and Calgary, and he's celebrating it. Wild ending in Vancouver. Evan Gilliard hitting 3 straight free throws to win the game, to book the trip to Winnipeg for Calgary Surge in the CBL playoffs. Good stuff. Good stuff. There's Teresa Resch on the Jumbotron in Vancouver talking about how the Tempo are going to play 2 games in Vancouver next year, and their regular season home games will be 2 of them in Rogers Arena at Vancouver. That's right. So Vancouver 2026, be ready. The Tempo are coming. You're going to get those tickets. I know y'all are going to get them. That's right. You're going to want them. Let's see. SGA has got a guy who was wearing a Thunder jersey on the tee in Indy. Interesting. So there's some guy went out there and wore a Oklahoma City Thunder jersey in golf. And he was on Taylor Gooch, I think is his name, or something like that. I don't know what's going on there. That's goofy. Wubbs has got some footage of him walking with somebody walking out on the court. Bobby Edwards, I guess. I don't know who this Bobby Edwards guy is. Maybe he's a Baylor guy, something like that. Norman Powell, of course, Jamaica all the way. Chubby's Jamaican Kitchen, Skechers basketball. Understand the grind. This is all Norman Powell's world. That's right. Slim Duck has got Drewski, and he's saying how I walk into places knowing God goes before me. Okay, there you go. Chris Boucher saying this. Nobody says nothing. And then Caribbean people say, yes, Father God, give me health and strength. He also is saying, pray for St. Lucia. Of course, Hurricane Aaron is picking up strength and dangerous speeds of wind. And it is passing over the home island of Chris Boucher, St. Lucia. So let's hope and pray for all people of all island nations that are in the path of any storms this hurricane season, that everybody can be okay and weather the storm safely. And okay, that's right. That's right. Let's see what else we got. Chris has got all kinds of funny stuff. He's got Patrick Ewing with his knees all iced up and said how it feels to always stand on business. Okay. Yeah. And he's got some other stuff. Yeah. Some of this is goofy, man. But yeah, Chris is a happy guy, man. He's a happy guy. You can tell. And he's got a new chapter he's stepping into in Boston now. Yeah. Let's see what else. Emmanuel Quickly was on a boat in Paris. He was driving it. He got to drive the boat around near the Eiffel Tower, living his best life. He's doing that Parisian lifestyle there. Let's see. Sandro Mamu is in Prague, Czech Republic. He's getting ready with the Georgian team to play in Eurobasket FIBA action very, very soon. So we'll see Sandro playing for Georgia soon, and we'll have all the information on how to watch him, and we'll have watch parties probably on the Discord for Sandro Mamu also, guys. So be ready for that in the next couple weeks. Good stuff. CBL, lots of highlights on their official account on their Instagram stories from the 2 playoff games yesterday. Just really, really good stuff. Congratulations to Scarborough Shooting Stars and Calgary Surge on going forward. And I know that the Sheriff Seymour Pape is happy about that. Very, very happy about that. Let's see. Morris Peterson is hanging out with Snoop Dogg this week, and he's at his concert. I think that Morris and Snoop Dogg have a lot in common, and that they're birds of a feather. And it's like Calvin's like, you know what, Morris, why don't you just come with me, bro? You know, why don't you come with me? Your vibe is strong, and I love that you played with Vince. And you're like, I like you're cool, man. So I think Morris Peterson is on the low key, joined Snoop Dogg's entourage, then he's now touring with him. I think that might be what's happening right now, going by what Morris Peterson's Instagram has been like. He's been around Snoop all week, and I think they bonded. Let's just put it that way. Elijah Martin's on the beach at Delray Beach, Florida. Yeah, so he went down to the beach with some of his friends, it looks like. So, yeah, Florida boys are in Florida right now. Elijah, Scotty Barnes. Brandon Ingram saying this. I love this mantra. Everything I lose creates space for everything I need. There you go. You lost the Pelicans and you created the Raptors. So you go, Brandon Ingram. That's right. He's got some cool pictures, him scratching his eyes. He's listening to Kevin Gates. He's all about the Kevin Gates right now, listening to him. And, yeah, he's like, there's a lot of cool pictures of Brandon hanging out a window of a car. Grady Dick, where are you? Grady Dick, what is this? He's at some sort of place called the Brickyard or something. It looks like his brothers are there and his sister. There's Carla. Yeah, that looks like Grady's younger brother. Is that Grady's younger brother? He's wearing a Lithuania basketball shirt, which is interesting. Where the hell are you, Grady? And he's with Carla, at least. We see Grady with Carla. I don't know where he is. I hope he's just having fun. That's right, Grady. There's your Instagram stories for today. Checking in on where the Raptors are in their lives through Instagram, the window to their lives through the Instagram. That's right. There you go. There you go. Stargate saying this. I see the whole tradeaholic phenomena is not just limited to Raptors fans. So many other fan bases are going crazy with hypothetical trade scenarios. It's nuts. Yeah. Everything that happens in our fan nation happens in other fan nations. We're not special. In some ways, we focus on the stuff for us because we just want to see that stuff. But that stuff is going on all over the place. Kevin Durant sweepstakes a couple of years ago. Yeah, we weren't the only team that was involved in all that mess. Giannis sweepstakes every summer. Giannis is going to leave. Everybody starts freaking out. And, you know, in some ways, it's a test to see where fan nations will turn on which players and say, yeah, we'll trade this guy for Kevin Durant or Giannis Antetokounmpo because we'd rather get him than this guy on our team. And then it makes the guy on the team feel bad. You say, oh, they trade me for Giannis? What the hell? That's why I very staunchly always say, I would never trade Scotty Barnes for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I would never trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant. No, I ain't selling out my guy Scott like that. No. I know it's just a phenomenon for everybody. And Lakers Nation's a little extra, trust me, with it. Knicks Nation, a little extra with it. So some of these teams are a little bit more extra than us even with it. Now, in some ways, if we're detoxifying the Raptors fan nation of some of the toxic behavior that we've talked about over the years, I think we're doing a good job. I feel like Raptors Nation is respecting and loving their team more properly now. You know, a couple of years ago after the championship, when we didn't win a championship the year after, oh my gosh, a lot of immature takes. And people say, oh, the Raptors are washed. They're no good anymore because they didn't win a championship 2 years in a row. It's like stupid. In some ways, it's like we've got to educate the fan nation on how to root for the team passionately and positively in the right way. And a lot of this extraneous noise and bullshit is by bullshit artists or fans that aren't even fans of our team, but fans of other teams that want to confuse things. Some of it is just unnecessary shit. Some people are just bored because it's the middle of summer and they wish Raptors basketball was on and they just want to make up shit. There's all kinds of different levels to this. But if we can teach them more and more the way to properly root for the team and just be a fan instead of a pundit, instead of a GM, instead of a coach, instead of like telling the team how it should be run because y'all think you know better than Bobby Webster. No, you're a fan. You're supposed to watch the games, enjoy it, and cheer for your team. That's your job description.
It's not to tell the team how to be better. It's not to tell the team who to trade. It's not to tell the team that this person should be coming off the bench more. No, that's the job of Darko. That's the job of Bobby Webster. And your job is to pay tickets to get to the game and cheer for your team loud. And that's the thing. Is a lot of people get out of their job description in this thing that I'm talking about right here. That's right. That's right. That's right. All right, let's keep going with the tabs. Let's see. We'll go look at Raptors Reddit real quick. There's somebody saying they're conflicted about next season. All right, let's read this. This sounds so stupid right here. All right. First of all, we'll say this is so dumb. All right, this is this guy named Speed. I don't know if it's Speed who comes in and talks to us. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty conflicted going into next season. On one hand, I want to see this team win because rooting for the tank isn't fun. When do you ever root for the tank? You're a loser. You shouldn't do that, bro. First of all, Redditor, I'm just a little ad in there. We've been middling for multiple seasons now. No, we haven't been middling. We've been rebuilding. And you don't understand the concept here. And the roster is very expensive with a $185 million payroll going into next season. Plus, we have a lot of promising young talent. However, part of me also wants to try for next year's lottery because the 2026 NBA draft is extremely deep and could be our second chance at acquiring a true superstar. Motherfucker, we have multiple true superstars on our team. Idiot. Guys like Darren Peterson, never heard of him, and AJ Dibansta. Yeah, I've heard that name, but I don't care. Look insanely good, and watching their tape makes me think about how much drafting a guy like them can change the direction of our franchise. No young players coming to save us, just like Cooper Flagg ain't coming to save the Dallas Mavericks. So get over yourself, Redditor. Geez. Though I understand that nothing is guaranteed since it's a lottery. Okay, you understand that, so there's no reason to try and lose on purpose, idiot. And could very well end the same as this year's draft by not moving up at all and bagging a top prospect. Regardless, I'm high on the team going into next season and the front office's ability to continue drafting great talent. What do you think? I think that you shouldn't be conflicted. I think if you're a real fan, you just root for them to win, and you should never, ever consider tanking an option. That's what it is, Redditor. That's it right there, Speed. That's what I think right there. You should never, ever consider tanking as an option. You're an idiot if you do. So, yeah, I'll say that. Those guys that you just named are not worth losing all season just to try and get somebody who may not even be a good NBA player. So I'm sorry. Somebody has ordered the NBA Paint Raptor logo hat, and they got it in the mail, that goofy child drawing of a Raptor with a basketball on a hat. And it's amazing kind of in a way, but also in a way it's kind of childish and stupid. I don't know. Y'all can have fun with this. I'm not going to be a killjoy, but I won't be buying it in the kids stuff, the kids hats, and the kids shirts with the kids logo. Kids, you go ahead and buy it. It's for the kids. I'll stick to the grown-up Raptors gear. Yeah, I'll stick to the grown-up Raptors gear. That's right. Yeah, there's the footage of Scotty and Elijah practicing together in Florida in the last couple of days on Reddit. If you want to see it, there's like a 2-minute clip if you want to see it there. There's your Raptors Reddit on there. Yeah, and there's your Raptors Reddit reactions. That's right. There you go. Let's see. We got a birthday today, guys. It's not a birthday that we really want to celebrate too wholeheartedly. It is Rudy Gay's birthday. And Rudy Gay is turning 39 today, guys. 39 years old for the old big truck, the Great Rudini. They call him the Great Rudini. Who the fuck calls Rudy Gay the Great Rudini? Have you ever heard him be called the Great Rudini? That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Of course, Rudy played for the Raptors for 51 games in his career and then got traded. And he's best known for being traded for players from Sacramento that absolutely helped us get into playoffs and win. Yeah, Rudy Gay, happy birthday, asshole. You talking trash about Toronto, say, "Ooh, I want to go to Toronto." Yeah, we didn't really need you, and that's why we traded you. And Masai traded you and got all kinds of good stuff. You maybe just sore at Toronto because you're a footnote, as you got traded for Chuck Hayes, John Salmons, Patrick Patterson, and I forget the other guy. And yeah, who cares? Gravis Vasquez. Who cares? It's like you're a footnote in Raptors history. But happy 39th birthday, Rudy Gay. You know, that man made almost $190 million in his NBA career. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. All right, let's keep going in the chat. Let's see what else you guys are filling it up while I've been doing the stuff there. QQ. When these players go and play for their respective countries in the summer, are they accompanied by someone from the Raptors coaching staff? Is there a Raptors representative with them? Yeah, I wonder about that with Jakob. Jakob being over in Austria right now. whether Jim Sands lurking around, maybe. I didn't see anybody for the Raptors around there. There was a guy sitting in the front row at the Bulgaria game that looked like Darko. He had the same haircut, but he was a fake Darko. He wasn't actually Darko. So it's like, it was Darko at the game watching Jakob? No, I don't think anybody was there with Yak. The thing about the games that Yak was just finished yesterday is that they were spread out 4 games over like 2 weeks, and they weren't like at one after the other, and they were in different locations. He went and played in Netherlands first. Then he went and played 2 games in Austria, and then he went to Bulgaria yesterday. And that's a lot of travel, and that's a lot of time in between. Now, maybe they call Jim Sand and his wife and say, "Hey, do you guys want to go on a extended European vacation and follow Yak around in Europe just to be his guy with them?" Jim's like, "Yeah, I did that last year. I don't know if I want to go this year. I don't know. I didn't see any signs of any Raptor staff being around Team Austria in the games that I watched. So I don't think there was. I think that Yak was just there on his own and doing his thing with the Austrian team. Yeah, I think that's what it was right there. Military Man saying, yeah, that logic doesn't make any sense. So why wouldn't teams like the Pistons, Hawks, Magic, and many other teams do that? Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've always thought that tank philosophy is ridiculous. The NBA does not like teams losing on purpose to try and get high draft picks. So they've done a lot of things to safeguard, discouraging them from doing this. And in some ways, team fans saying, oh, we need to tank. You don't understand. You're putting the team in a bad position because the team can't tank. They will get penalized. They can lose shit, like get fined, lose draft picks because they overtly trying to lose. So Raptors fans, stop this tank mentality. Tanking is so stupid. It's dead. That whole strategy may have worked in another era of the NBA, but it won't work now because Adam Silver changed the rules to make it extremely punitive. If you are tanking, he will, and even the way that the lottery worked out with Dallas getting the number 1 pick, San Antonio, and then Philadelphia as the top 3 picks. None of the teams that were at the absolute bottom got even at those top picks, whether it was Washington, Utah, New Orleans, any of those teams, Brooklyn. None of those teams got to touch those top picks. And the team that had the least chance got rewarded with it for trading their superstar to LA. They got it in there, and Philly's a darling team. So they can have, Joel's out. Let's boost you and give you a VJ Edgecombe real quick. So it's like it's a failed loser mentality, tanking mentality. It's losers. Losers talk about tanking. Losers want to take an easy route. That's what it is. Oh, we need to lose on purpose to get a savior in the draft. Oh, this AJ die guy he's gonna save us. Bullshit. We don't know he's gonna save us. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. And that guy is coming up in college next year that you think is going to save the Raptors. There is no guarantee that motherfucker is qualified or trained to save the Raptors. Seriously, that's not how it is anymore. Even Victor, a generational talent coming in this league, a huge monster, a unicorn, an alien. He didn't even transform the Spurs overnight. He didn't have that kind of impact. Oh, we're going to get the number 1 pick. We're going to get Victor. And everything's going to be all right. No, did that happen for the Spurs the last couple of years? No, they have been out of the playoffs and still struggling, even with young, early Victor Wembanyama, because nobody comes in this league ready to be a presence that just takes over and has a huge impact in this league, like people like LeBron and others before in the past. It's just not how it is anymore. Players aren't trained correctly out of college to be like that in the NBA. Cooper Flagg is not going to be a transformational player for Dallas this year. He's going to be an ordinary rookie who comes out there and learns just like every one of them. He's not going to add more to anything in any way, in those kind of ways. They over value young players that ain't done jack shit and haven't proved nothing and thinking, oh, we should lose on purpose this whole entire year to get a chance, not even for sure, at a guy who's not even for sure going to be good. It's the most ridiculous, asinine thinking and I've ever thought. That's why I have no respect for tank people. People that talk about tanking, tank this, tank that no respect because it's stupid. It's a horrible strategy, and Adam Silver will punish you for it. That's it right there. That's it right there. That's right. Wayne's saying reading Reddit should go to the way of the sunset this evening. It's dark out, overcast right now. It looks like it's going to rain in the middle of the day right now. Yeah, I mean, Raptors Reddit reactions is a good news segment because in some ways, if I read the Raptors Reddit, maybe I can point out jackasses and kind of shame them and say, oh, why'd you post that? And maybe there'll be less of that kind of jackass toxic posts in Reddit. Reddit is getting more positive. Reddit is getting more for the team in the right ways, in the ways that I would like to see it. And a lot of the goofy shit that I used to see in there is kind of getting cleaned up. So I don't know. Maybe we can have an impact in this by being good leaders as fans and showing how to be a positive fan for the Raptors without all the extraneous toxic bullshit that some of the other people in Raptors Nation are all about. You know, the trade rumors, the tank theories, the shit like that. Stargate saying, I see Bam's name being brought up by Heat Nation now. Shaking my head. More novice, adolescent, nonsensical prattle on Reddit. Ignore it. You know, that's the thing. You know, old school Heat fans love Bam Adebayo, and they would never, ever think about trading him. But youngsters that came along that don't have the respect for his longevity and his time with the team will be very easily like, yeah, let's just trade him. No loyalty. And that's some of it. That's part of it is like, you know, we get a lot of growing fan base for the Raptors, and we have a lot of newer fans that are just not educated on the NBA or understand basketball. And they have really unrealistic ideas. Some people are fans of hockey first, and they try to apply hockey logic to basketball, and they're absolutely wrong. There's all kinds of different ways that, you know, ignorance and stupid takes on the NBA and Raptors come from. Some of it's just people are young and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Some people are old and they don't know what they're talking about. There's all kinds of different places that comes in. That's right. Shaq Lindsay's here. Good morning, Shaq Lindsay. Thank you for being a member of the channel. Oh, let's not forget Washington, New Orleans, Philadelphia, and Charlotte. That's right. Those are all teams that kind of missed out. Philly got it, though. They moved up and got the third pick, which was a favor from the NBA. Trust me. That was a favor from the NBA. All right, let me see. What else do I got? Let's do the classic card. That is what's next on the chat. And there's only 4 minutes, so let's get it right in the last 4 minutes of the stream before 2 hours hits. Who is that? Oh, yeah, we'll do this guy. All right, guys. Here, I'm going to show the back of the card because, once again, it's really hard to show these cards without showing the name. So who is that, guys? I know it's a very much a sliver of the card. Full name answer, you get the classic card of the day. And Raptor Freak trivia points added to your total score. Who is that, guys? Maybe I should show the front. Maybe. I don't know. If you can figure out who this classic card is right there. Let's see. Let me try and cover the name right on the front. It's just that the name's in 2 spots. It makes it hard. All right. Who is that, guys? Who is that? Full name answer. Give me the full name answer, and you will get the classic card of the day. I think this guy just retired, honestly. Yeah, that's a half-ass answer. Neil, what are you doing? Half-assing. I told you, full name answer. That is one of the rules of this. You know that there's 2 guys with that name in this league, so you better get the right one. You telling me Bogdanovich. Come on, man. You better get this right. There's 2 guys in this league like this. You better get which one it is. Which one is it? That's right. John Stockton Bogdanovich? What are you doing, Isaac Campbell? What are you doing? That is not John Stockton Bogdanovich. What is that, man? Come on, give me the full name answer. Seagull that from Neil. Neil wrote the half name in. You deserve to seagull it. You can't remember the first name? Well, you can't get it then. You can't get it. You can't remember. He was on Detroit. Yeah, he was on Detroit. In fact, this guy just recently retired from the NBA, the guy on this card. So that should tell you everything right there. The other guy's still in Atlanta, I think. No, wait, maybe he went to another team. Did the other guy go to the Clippers? I want to say the other guy went to the Clippers. Yeah, that's not right, Monique. That's not Boban. Boban Marjanovic? No, his name's not Boban. Boban's not right. It's close, though. You're 1 letter off. You just need to change 1 letter. You'll get it. But, Monique, you're very close. Yeah, he's a shooter. Yeah, this guy was kind of a shooter. He was on the Knicks last year, remember? He was involved in being around OG and Precious, but they didn't keep him around. And then, I don't know. You guys just get it. I can't believe that this has been fumbled. A couple of different people have fumbled it. John Bogdanovich? What are you doing with your life, Neil? When has a Serbian man been called John? Come on now. Come on now. Yeah, somebody's got to know the retired Bogdanovich. Come on. What is his first name, y'all? I just need one person to spell it correctly. Mo's got it. All right. I'm going to give it to Mo, even though she didn't full name answer it, is Bojan. Is you saying John? John is the spelling, is the English name for Bojan.
I mean, I should give it to, I'm going to give it to Mo. I'm sorry. I'm giving it to Mo. She got it first, even though she didn't put Bogdanovich in. In some ways, I'm going to give it to Mo. Isaac, you could kind of get it. I should maybe give it to you, but I'm going to give it to Monique. Monique's going to get it today. She's going to get Bojan Bogdanovich is the answer of the classic card today. He actually retired this summer, guys. He's not going to play in the NBA this year. He retired. It could very well be that he's gone back overseas and he'll probably play over there. But Monique Lawrence is getting the classic card of the day today. And I'm going to give her 100 points for today's classic card. So, Mo, you got a 100-point classic card of the day. Bojan Bogdanovich. Bojan Bogdanovich. Yeah. Remember, y'all, when you play trivia, Raptor Freak trivia, it's always full name answer. Never half a name. Full name answer. First and last name is very, very important. John in a brother man language? It may be, but the card has this spelling on it right here. And that is the accepted answer right there. The answer is on the card. That's what I want to see exactly right there. If you want these answers right, Bojan space Boganovic. That's right. Bojan Bogdanovich. All right, y'all, we're at 2 hours. Let's get the hell out of here. Thanks for watching the Sunday special report. Today, we covered the NBA schedule for the Raptors in 2025-2026 season. I think it's very fair. I think this is one of the better schedules we've had in like the last 5 years, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that the Raptors can be very successful moving through the schedule. The back-to-backs are very doable. The setup of the games and the distribution of even good teams and bad teams is really good. So I'm excited for this season. The NBA schedule makers were not mean to us this year. They were way worse last year. Last year was fucked up. I'm not going to lie. That was really, really a strategy, the way they built our schedule last year. This year, I can't see it. The only thing that's a little bit of a red flag is the stuff with the Knicks. The Knicks games are in weird spaces and places. But otherwise, the schedule is pretty fair. And I'm excited for it. And I'm excited to get into it. I hope you guys will join me tomorrow for a Monday Moment and Tuesday Trivia on Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. every single day. The Raptor Freak streak continues 4 years straight on September the 14th. I'll be doing this stream every single day for 4 years straight as of the 14th of September, guys. So, yeah, in just a little bit under a month. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, Monday Moment, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, every single morning. Raptor Freak out. Please subscribe. Join the channel. You get membership privileges on our Discord. And you know what? You can comment. You can share me. If you want to clip out some of my stuff, if I say something on the stream that you like, you have permission to clip from my stream and post it somewhere else. I don't care. It could be basketball related. It could be politically related. Whatever. If I say something funny, you're just like, oh, this guy's goofy. Let's put this clip out. I don't mind you guys clipping from me and putting it in other places. I appreciate you. Isaac got Monique on blast. I love it. There's Scotty number 4. We love Scotty. And Stargate, peace to you, my guy. All the best, you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go.